Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Torelli. I'm the chairman of the Orange County Funding Corporation and Orange County Industrial Development Agency. Today is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022, approximately 5:32 p.m. We all like to rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our new board members. Good, welcome aboard. Sue, you've been here last time, but welcome aboard, and Noel and Bo, welcome aboard. Been a little crazy with a couple birth announcements or a birth announcement here and there, and craziness, but hopefully we'll get back into we are getting back into a distinct pattern. So today we're going to be changing things up a slight little bit due to our consultants trying to maximize their time. We'll be starting with the Orange County Funding Corporation. So that'll be your thinner packet that we'll be talking about first. And at this point, we have 7 members, so all 7 are present. And in this meeting that we vote upon, either on this meeting or the next one, if we all stay, is going to need a requirement of a majority, which would be 4. The first time in a while, so a little bit different, but well. So we have the meeting called to order, the roll call, we have everybody here. Notice.
Yes, proof of notice is included in the packet, just to show that we've given proper notice for this meeting. So that's included. I also, Mr. Chairman, if I would, I can introduce our guests.
Yes, please do.
Of course, our general counsel is here, Ms. Susan Katzoff. Her partner, Joseph Porcello, will be joining us later in executive session. Mr. Art Glass is here from Mount St. Mary College for the OCIDA portion. Colleen Hughes and Sean Maravecchio are here for Sativa again.
Dr. Rodak's here by
Yes, he is.
remotely.
He is. Of course, Russ Genzel, our bond counsel, is here. Dennis Brady, our AV consultant, is on as well. And Georgina Wallischauser, if I have that right, is here also for Mount St. Mary College. And Shannon Manisi from RBT CPAs is here for our finance reports.
Awesome. Thank you. Over minutes.
Yes. Minutes are included in the package from February 16th Board of Directors meeting. If anyone has any comments, corrections, anything, please let us know before we go to approve.
Any discussion? With that, I'll accept the motion. Thank you, Bob. Second by Dean.
Discussion. There was a mention in financial agreement for the appointment of officers. Or maybe it's the other one.
Yeah, it's always the idea.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Carried unanimously. All right, for review, Bill. Finance.
Okay, for finance, again, we're going to bring in our finance consultant, Shannon Manisi from RBT. And she'll be go over some of the financial reports. I'll touch on the resiliency loan program, and then we'll get into payables for February, March. Shannon, if I can turn it over to you, please.
So for board members, I believe this will be on page 5 of our OCFC board pack.
Right, so looking at page 5 for the month of February, the Funding Corp took in $91.98 in loan repayments, and there was loan interest earned of $197 and interest on your bank accounts of $58. And there were no expenses due to timing of when checks were requested to be cut for the month of February. And if you go to the next page, would be page 6, is the amount of money in your banks. So Chase had 318,000 in it, and Orange Bank and Trust, the money market, had 1.3. So overall, the Funding Corp had 1.6 million in their bank.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion by board members? Without any discussion, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials as presented. Thank you, Bob. Noel, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Carried unanimous. Bill, you want to go into the next page, which is page 7.
Sure, yes, next page 7, the OCFC Small Business Resiliency Loan, for those that aren't familiar, this is a special program developed during the COVID shutdown for businesses, small businesses that were struggling as a result of the lockdown. We gave out 49 loans, a total of $476,500. We have 15 that were paid in full, 33 that have paid partially. We have 2 that are about to pay off, that will leave us 12 that are paying current. 13 are behind, some are behind just a small amount. 3 are not paying. There are 3, and I called each of them myself. One I was able to go meet, and they're going to be making these minimal payments starting next month. 2 others are just not returning the calls, they're kind of dodging us. But I do prefer to focus on the folks that are paying diligently and have paid in full. So I think we continue to make good progress with 68% of loans repaid total.
One thing I would ask is either in finance committee, which we'll talk about later, and or working with our CPA and audit firms that are doing our audits and our year-end financials. We definitely need to know how much we should be able to write off as bad debt moving forward. So that's a question mark for that committee, but more importantly, for those consultants to give us their expert opinion in regards to this thing. I think we did a certain amount last year for this bucket, I'll say, for this fund, for this loan. And we should be looking forward to doing that for the end of 2021 when we get those financials completed, and so we can review them and accept them. But more importantly, what we would look forward to 2022. This loan for critical loan should be completed in 2022.
We gave another 6-month deferral last year. I think they all,
I think it's
they're
by
all by the
like
end of this calendar year.
like by fourth quarter.
Yeah. I think
We'll
you're
look into
absolutely
that. All right, so discussion in regard to the resiliency loan fund. A lot of questions or a lot of details here, but this is something that we inherited and that is almost at the end of its, I'll say, length of process.
Mr. Chairman, he said it's end of 2022, is that precise or?
Bill, do you know if there's a precise date of when this exactly ends?
There are some different timings for different lenders. Some people are borrowers, some people requested a deferral that was available, some people didn't take it. The dates are different, but I'll report back to you with all the various timings.
Mike, I just want to ask, I'm sure, I know we've talked about this before, but is there anything we should do as sort of due diligence to recoup the monies that went to pay? 30,000? We discussed it before.
We have sent out a collections letter, and again, I'm making calls, but that's where it is.
Like the other question, does our attorneys know about this? Is there any way of putting a lien on your business, or we're not checking them?
So I'm gonna speak from experience generally,
Yeah.
statewide. So I did not represent you when the loan program
That's okay,
came
yeah.
about. So I don't know what your loan documents say, but this particular legislation was adopted for a very short period of time to allow all IDAs to provide funding to small businesses who were struggling with COVID. So the fact that you have, I know that sounds crazy, but you have a very small percentage that didn't pay that.
Yeah.
So to answer, so I think I think these were struggling entities. I think you need to look to your loan documents to see if you have a remedy upon default. Between you and I, my guess is if they can't repay this, you're gonna throw good money after bad trying to collect it, but that you can't, and you know, we need to review your loan documents.
One good thing Bill said, is that it was sent to collections. Just by itself.
Any further questions, concerns? This is Les, next page, would you like to talk about that? No, that's just, that's a payment that we received.
Yes, it is. It's a update included in there.
We're down to- Where's no payables for the March, for the February, March?
Not for OCFC.
So, next item on the agenda, new business, go ahead.
Mount St. Mary College. So again, sorry, glasses here, Georgina is on via Zoom. Mount St. Mary College located in the city of Newburgh, they came to the IDA for tax-free revenue bonds in the past. And essentially, I'm gonna let Mr. Genzel really explain it. But essentially, they're looking to refinance tax-free revenue bonds in order to take advantage of better rates. That's essentially what they're looking to do. But Russ, are you there?
I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody.
Could I ask you to chime in just a little more
Yeah.
accurate? Just,
Yeah, sure. So, and as Bill noted, Georgina's here, and I think somebody from Mount St. Mary's may be actually physically present. Essentially, what the request is for the funding corp to issue a new series of bonds to refinance some existing debt. There's no new money. They want to take advantage of the interest rate climate. They're fast-tracked. Georgina and Mount St. Mary's and the working group have had half a dozen calls already on this. And so what's presented today is simply a resolution for the funding corp to consider accepting the application and authorizing council and staff to hold the requisite public hearing. I spoke literally an hour ago with Langdon Chapman about the process for what we call the TEFRA approval. And with the county executive, Godspeed, being sent overseas, we're working through that. But we, again, assuming the board approves today's resolution, we'll hold a public hearing and be back to the board for final approval, presumably at next month's meeting.
do you hear from the applicant? or-
I really have nothing to add. What he said is well articulated, so unless there are questions.
Thank you. So these are existing, this was something that we previously did,
Yes.
that is, they're looking to do it again in regards to just on the refinancing aspect of it. So it's not a new issue, it's just a refinancing existing bond issue.
That is correct, right, Russ?
Yeah, no, well, Mike, to be completely accurate, there'll be new bonds issued to refinance the old bonds.
Right.
But there's no new project, no new expansion, so there's no environmental review or anything like that.
I could add, when we first started looking at this, it was gonna say it's about $200,000 a year. With what's going on in the world, it's shrunk a little bit, but we're hoping that, we get time and advantage of time. Thank you.
I didn't hear it that well, they just looking to move forward with public hearing, is that what I?
Yeah.
But we would accept the initial resolution would be to take the application and accept it as it is, and then vote on moving forward with a potential public hearing to be determined by staff and applicant and council.
And Mike and Bill, just to be clear, and they just extended the state law rules, but this is a public hearing under federal law that we would publish on the OCFC website and hold remotely on 7 days notice. And as I mentioned, I spoke with Langdon Chapman earlier today, and we've already kind of teed up the process to get what we again call the TEFRA approval in Steve's absence. And then we'll be back to the board hopefully next month.
So what does this have to do?
County exec has to sign off for an elected official in I think of the highest office in the county. What does he actually have to sign off on?
Yeah, so in any bond issue like this, whether it's in Orange County or anywhere in the country, frankly, you have to receive what's called the approval from the applicable elected representative. And in Orange County, it's the county executive. And we've done this before with Langdon and Steve, with Mount St. Mary's and other not-for-profit borrowers. But again, in his absence, I think we may have to go through the full county budget process.
That's news to me, I didn't know that. It's something new every day.
Yeah,
It's a federal statute. It's a
Sure.
requirement.
And just so, just as a reminder, this is not a debt or obligation of the county, the state, the funding corp, the IDA. We are a conduit issuer of the debt, and the repayment requirements fall solely on Mount St. Mary's.
Great point. Do we have a fee calculator?
No, actually, we do. I'm sorry, it's $5,000 application. fee. We do, absolutely.
And the application fee, I think, went to the IDA initially, and we could just transfer.
5,000 between bond council and the idea.
So 2,500 comes to
Correct.
OCFC,
Pass through, yes,
and then 2,500 goes directly to bond
correct.
by the applicant.
It came to us, we passed it further to the debtors.
And then, Mike, there'll be the typical administrative fee that will be payable when we close on the transaction, hopefully in the early spring.
That's listed on page 21.
Is this so time sensitive though, I mean, with everything going on, interest rates and whatnot, I mean, either way, we have to wait for the lowest, but. Or is it kind of locked in now, I'm just curious.
No, there's a lot of due diligence we have to do. Can't really say or make a deadline at this point. Right now, we're estimating possibly the end of May, but there's a lot involved.
Right, and I can maybe jump in here too. We are monitoring the market, and we did select an underwriter, so we're working with them on monitoring the market. Obviously, there's a lot of volatility. In terms of time sensitivity, I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but these bonds, they do have a call date where we are able to refinance the debt, and that is coming up this year. So typically bonds have a 10-year call date. So that would be 7/1/2022, and we're able to refinance it 90 days before then. So we're looking to price not until May, and that's when we'll lock in the interest rates, and we're monitoring the market with the underwriter, and we're starting to have those conversations.
Great, thank you. For discussion, board members. Without any further discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the initial resolution for the application for Mount St. Mary College and to authorize staff to hold a public hearing.
Well,
Thank you. Okay, second. Thank you. Those in favor? Actually, we'll do roll call. This is an actual vote on it.
Torelli,
Yes.
Tim Murray,
Yes.
ODOT,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yeah.
Walsky,
yes,
Kennedy,
Yes.
Rinaldi.
Yes.
7 ayes.
Good luck in doing that. You guys are a major asset to the county. So thank you. And for what you do.
Thank you, Georgina.
Any additional items that come in front of those? Yes.
That's it.
Board members, council, anything? With that, I entertain a motion to close the OCFC portion of tonight's meeting.
so moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Wait, we need a second.
Sorry. I thought folks said second. That's right.
Sorry.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. All right, carry unanimous, 7.
5:52, meeting closed.
All right. 5:58, we'll be opening up the Orange County Industrial Development Agency meeting on March 16, 2022. All 7 members are present and accounted for. We don't need to do this pledge because we did it in the previous meeting. We had the roll call, ready? Proof of notice, Bill.
Proof of notice is on the following page, where you see on March 2nd, we made we posted notice that this meeting would be held this evening, following the OCFC.
Minutes.
February 16th board of directors meetings for meeting minutes for the IDA meeting are attached. Do you have any questions, comments, deletions, additions, please?
You just did an answer that, what does it mean to that discuss the extension? I was sure that was that didn't hear it. In our meeting that members saying that. I heard the attorney say, well, I said I would delay any question, but it's not here in the minutes that.
It's not in the.
I'm not seeing it, it was like early. I'm not seeing that, so.
So I said it.
Okay,
One more time.
Early in the meeting, there was a process made where the assistant secretary was made secretary.
I believe it was the same time that we made Mr. Canberry vice chair. So we can look back at the
Yeah,
the recording and see exactly when that was. I believe those both happened at the same time. last
Same
year.
time, could be, but all right, so that was just something. Later on, I'll bring that up.
Sure. We'll check that and add it.
Okay.
Any additional questions, concerns, discussion?
Now, Sue, do we look to approve that next month, or can we with that addition?
So there is discussion of it on page 7. I'm not sure if that answers your question. So at the bottom, the last two,
Yes, it said
so the council reviewed the request and then a motion was made by Mr. Kennedy, seconded by Mr. Tambori, and passed unanimously. And the motion was to appoint Mr. Tambori as vice chair and Mr. Odock as secretary.
Okay, all right,
Does that answer?
I think.
Okay.
The motion to adopt, I'll make a motion to approve. Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you both. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Okay, so carried. That was great. Finance.
Finance, first give a brief update on the audit for 2021. JDS is performing that right now, they're very close. Actually, what remains, we have a couple of questions we're answering for them tomorrow, and I have to provide some sort of brief reports that were done in the past. So I'll be completing those tomorrow and getting them in. They are due per ABO in conjunction with our Payables reporting. Both of those are due on March 31st of this month. So we're on track. We're looking good. Everything will be fine, but we do audit should be complete over the next week or so.
So I believe last year the board approved, they voted on it.
It's true, we did before I think we had to do like a special vote to be able to do it in time.
Where do we go with that?
Special Zoom.
You do, have to do it.
We don't want to be late,
No, we
and
don't.
it's not ready
It's
tonight.
not ready yet. No.
We're all gonna look forward to having another meeting sometime before March 31st. And I'm out of town,
You are.
last 4 days or last 6 days.
Plus remotely, we can't do remotely after tonight, right?
For emergency meeting.
They just extended it, Bill.
Oh, they did, Russ?
Yeah, it was just extended, I think through mid-April.
Okay, so you can
So
do
you
it.
can do it remotely.
Thanks, Russ.
We'll try to do it remotely if all possible. It'll only be that one agenda, a presentation and then a vote.
I'm not concerned with that, there's a word out of notice. I think so many days and then-
Yeah, if you
Okay.
have, if you need to call an emergency meeting, then.
Okay.
You do give notice, I mean, an hour, but even if it's an hour.
And we can discuss it that following meeting as well, right?
Yeah, and your special meeting's gonna be open too.
Correct.
You're good.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'll send it back to Shannon to talk about February financial report for OCIDA.
Okay, now we'll be starting on page, it's not numbered, but I think it's page 8, which is before page 9.
Yeah,
Yes,
after
it's
7.
page 8. So for income, there was 2 application fees that came in for a total of 10,000. One being the Mount, the other one being Walgreens. Subtenant rents of 11,784 and interest on your bank accounts of $236. So overall total income for February was $22,021. Your expenses, nothing really majorly changed from prior month. Salaries are 18,000. Your payroll taxes are 4,400. The fiscal audit includes the invoice for Loki, it's site visits and planning, and that's the 3920 there. Under the CFO bookkeeping services, that's UHY for their year-end work for the audit and their January work. Professional fees of 600 was the court stenographer. And under office supplies and postage, that's your monthly leases for 2 copiers and some postage. So your total administrative costs were $32,422. If you jump down to your building expenses, they're in line with last month as well. Your normal rent, utilities, you had normal maintenance charges, and your internet and telephone was $1,080, which last month had some questions, and I think Bill was going to address that after this, because we have the detail behind that. So your total building expenses were $18,665. Your agency support, so your marketing and PR is Mid-Hudson News and your GoDaddy subscriptions, and then just general memberships for $260, so a total of $32.97 for agency support. So your total expenses for the month for all divisions was $54,384. So overall, you're down $32,363. But you know, as these projects close, you get those other fees that'll swing.
Good.
And if we go to the next page, you'll see your cash in bank there. So between all the different accounts that you currently hold, you have a total of $11,463,816.
Okay. We're gonna break this down into pages 7 and 8. We'll look at, or sorry, 8 and 9. And we'll be going on them individual, or as pages 8 and 9. And we'll go into the specific expenses. So in this instance, any discussion or questions in regards to the presented financials for February 2022? No. Okay, no discussion. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the financials as presented. So, thank you all. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Very unanimous. We're going to payables next. Page 10.
All right, take that back. Thank you, Shannon. Shannon, I think we can let you go. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Wait a minute, Shannon.
Yes.
No, we didn't approve last month's financials. Do we have them presented anywhere?
I think, only because I get a question on one item, information technology.
So we didn't vote on it.
Right. So I can give you an update on that, and then you want to vote on it? Yeah. So, it was a total of just over $7,000. $32 was ITC bill for, you remember our data network was down, and we needed to have it really essentially rebuilt. That was the bulk of it. And then we have Frontier Communications, a couple different bills from them, including Middletown, which is where we're paying for fiber optic there. We tried to change it, by the way, I'm gonna lead into my director's report a little bit. We tried to change it to DSL, which is a very efficient service, and after we made that order, they came back to us a week later and said, oh, for some technical reason, you can't have that there. So we have to find another solution. We're trying to resolve that, but right now it's, this is 2 months, it's like $1,400 a piece is what we're paying for that. So fiber optic in Middletown is a lot of it. Time Warner Cable was also part of it, $425 for the Priority Road site, Priority Lane site.
Are you going into specifics? So do we have an actual report to vote on? actual copy of one?
Well, we have our report from last month, you wanna see it again? I mean, it was presented last month, it just,
Yeah, but-
that was what you had the one eye,
But
one
we
question,
didn't vote on it. That's the problem. We didn't vote on it.
but everyone's reviewed it. You wanna have it in front of you again, I could take it, email it to everyone, I'm not sure how else you wanna improve it.
I don't know how else we could prove it.
Without seeing it again in front of you, because it's the same report you saw, except for me clarifying the one.
Well, remember, the numbers were wrong. The numbers were not matching from the one report to the other.
Oh, that's right, I don't know, Shannon's still there,
So we need to see that match up, and I think we need to see the actual report, I think.
so, Shannon cleaned up those numbers, I think she shared it with us, because she had to do a lot of cleanup, she shared it with
Sure
us.
she did.
I think it was, there were, in the transition, there were a number of items that really weren't cleaned up, so, I think she sent it the day of our last board meeting, as soon as she finished it, like 3 o'clock or something, it's not what you had in front of you. But she reported last month on the corrected financials, but you're right, you don't have a hard copy in front of you, you didn't have a hard copy, so.
You could, add that to your agenda for your special meeting, it
Yeah.
wouldn't take you long to do it.
Yeah, that'd be the January financial actual statement.
So can we motion to table that so we can review it then, vote?
But we don't have to review it, right?
You,
Well, as I'm saying, we can't approve it, so a motion to delay approving January financial portion until a special meeting. So you have it as part of your official record for this meeting that it hasn't been voted on yet. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah, makes sense.
You can make that.
Makes sense.
so, well, Chairman,
If you want, the floor is open, so let's make a motion.
motion that we table approving the January, accounts payable until our special meeting to review 2021 financial audit.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. At 6-1. Yes. All right, Bill,
Oh, seriously.
page 10.
Yes, yeah.
okay, and as usual, we have 3 tranches of payables. First is all recurring, then we have monthly contracts, and then all others. I'm gonna go through these as we do it, and I will say, we're gonna talk about committees a little further. This is something we, before long, want to transition to our finance committee work. This is all be reviewed in detail, without rushing whatsoever, and then the finance committee will approve it or not, and come to the board meeting, recommending approval of these. So, but we're gonna continue this now and move with that. First is Time Warner Cable, that's internet service at what we call the Laser Building in the town of New Windsor, one of the 2 buildings that we are continuing to lease in the New Windsor Accelerator. Central Hudson Gas and Electric, $2,100. It's a higher amount than normal, but also for the Laser Building in New Windsor. But prices are up, and it's the heart of winter. That's really, after our analysis, that's really what it's about. Utility prices are up, and again, the heat has been running. So that's as high as it's been, but that is a realistic figure. Our copy leasing for 3 months is in that as well. It's our yearly service contract and Complete Document Solutions. Our lease for Xerox machine is on here, 303. Okay. Sanitation at 334 Avenue of the Americas, that's New Windsor Accelerator, that's on there as well. Verizon, that's when we transferred service over to B4 Holdings for 603 Broadway. There's just a small remainder from the transition there. That's what that 8211 is. First Columbia, that's our rent and our campaigns for Fort Friday Lane for the headquarters. Altiva is internet for the Warwick location, Warwick Accelerator, 9071. 88 Studio, that's our AV support with Dean and Dennis. Mid-Hudson News, that's our monthly banner ad that we pay for. Next is KR Cleaning for the headquarters. Frontier, aforementioned internet service, Ethernet and wireless service, phone service and fiber. totaling $1,500. Again, we are working to try and cut that drastically. Facilities
That's
maintenance.
all for Middletown, right?
Correct, all for the Middletown location.
That's recoverable or no?
That is not with them. It is in Warwick. We recover our gaming utility charges for that. Facility maintenance, that's cleaning in Middletown, that figure as well. Town of New Windsor, this is water and sewer for the 2 buildings we're still leasing at the New Windsor Accelerator, 334 Avenue, the Americas. Crystal Rock, that's water service at the headquarters. Our card member service, that's one of our 2 credit cards. Most of this is our Adobe payment, QuickBooks, online, and GoDaddy. I have further detailed needed. Morangi disposal is next, that's trash and recycling in Middletown. Second is our other credit card. This was for some membership dues. We had a meal at the office with our council and her staff, and office supplies. Next is our copier in Middletown, the Kyocera we have there. ITC is remote maintenance for our data network. And some labor that was done there. Time serial record, this is the charge for our legal notice for public hearings. We will have on here, Mr. Chairman, for your request, exactly which projects in the future. It will be very clear. These notices work for the West Warwick project, the battery storage project, and for Sativa Medical. That's what those 2 are.
Those are recoverable, right? They'll pass those charges on.
Yes. Correct. And lastly, I have in front of me a bill that came before us, that I presented before for Dean the Lesser Group. This is for our Middletown Rent. They billed us for an entire year. They didn't send us an invoice all year. We were concerned that was in breach of the lease agreement, but it was not. It stipulates that really we should pay monthly regardless of the invoicing. We did look into this as to whether or not it seemed viable for, like we've done in other sites, for us to take the comptroller's decree, for lack of a better term, that all of our leases are void. It does not seem like a viable path for us. We, of course, in addition to some other activity, we've renewed subleases with our tenants there, renewed until November. So in discussion with council, she's recommending that this is a valid payable.
Do you have that on here?
It's not, I'm adding it, I'm bringing it back in, I didn't because it's from previous presentation. When I do add it in, the total from.
What's the amount?
The amount is $81,648. Adding that to the 25,444.99. The total I'm requesting for recurring services is $107,092.99. Again, over 81,000 is for the Middletown Rent. If you want to have a discussion on that, but that is something we looked into, discussed at length, and are recommending for payment.
All right, that's just on page 10, right?
It's just page 10.
Keep page 11 separate, that's the.
Yes.
We'll concentrate on page 10 and this added amount of 81,648 from Middletown Rent. Discussion by board members.
I kind of heard you on the 81,000. I didn't hear the period of time, is that for 2 years?
I'm sorry, it's for the entire 2021. And the previous CEO of the IDA did not like to pay that rent payment until there was an invoice. I guess they were notorious for not sending them regularly. But again, upon inspection of the lease, there is no real requirement. How and when they invoice us, but there is a clear stipulation we're supposed to pay monthly, so we're not gonna do that going forward. So that was kind of the unwritten policy internally on this, but it wasn't appropriate. So this is all 2021 that we were built in December.
So we release going forward, a written release.
Our lease expires in November of this year. Okay, as I mentioned, we've renewed some subleases with our subtenants, but with the understanding that the lease is expiring in November, and there's a termination clause with 30 days notice. If, for example, let's see, there's a tour medical college wants to take over our space, we can get out. We just need to provide 30 days.
Okay. The only thing on that, Mr. Chairman, is quickly. We had what's the difference between Lamela and Marachi? Both of them was
Yes, Lamella is in the New Windsor Accelerator out in the Americas, and Morangi is both the headquarters and Middletown.
The reason I'm asking, I know Morangi operates in Sweden. So just wondering why.
I don't know how they were procured,
Okay,
those sanitation services are provided in conjunction with their tenants, and we had five leases on 5 buildings in the New Windsor pod. They call it. 3 expired in December 31st. The other 2 that remain expire in May and June. We'll be done with those services at that time. So I'm not really looking to re-procure because in a matter of a couple of months, we should be terminating those services. Unless you.
small.
Any other discussion? One discussion point that I will bring up is that I will not be in favor of paying Middletown rent at this point in time, even though it's the opinion of council and the potential staff to do that. I don't think that it's treating all of our accelerators the same way. Our leases with all of our accelerators are void, as by numerous people telling us that. In other accelerators, we are remitting the payments that we receive to the landlords. In this instance, we're not recovering everything, so we would be paying rent that the previous board exercised a lease agreement on that was deemed void. And I think we should be paying and remitting the amounts that we're receiving like we do in Newburgh, in New Windsor, and Warwick. So at this point, I will be voting against the Middletown portion of page 10 for the 81,648. I'm not asking for anyone to join me in that, but it's something that I believe in, and I don't think that we should be.
Should we somehow break out the motions for approval?
I think you have to just vote no on the motion.
Yeah, so you have so if someone would like to make a motion on the full amount, they can. And if someone wants to make a different motion, they can make it. They can. Or if there's any further discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah, they do.
Would it be possible for us to get an accounting of the rents that have been paid for the year 2021 for the Middletown Accelerator? The total,
To us,
yes,
sure.
as well as an expense sheet simply for that, because I don't know if it's a net lease or what we have on there. This way, I think it's easier for us to make a decision on what we would pay the landlord.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I see Mike's point on this, but I know we have collected some of it, and I also know that we have some sort of agreement in place, which, I don't see on the board, but there are people there, accelerator, and that was part of it, and we will be finishing with those as well, correct? And this one as well. I mean, it's again, I know there's some.
Basically, Thanksgiving.
You know, I just want to see what the gap is, you know, in plain language, it's much easier for me personally to digest that way.
So then you, like, for example, if there's a group in one of the areas, and they haven't paid and they're still there, you would probably say, hey, I refuse to pay because they didn't pay us, I guess.
Well,
But, yeah.
and like I said, without
Well, there's
knowing
vacant space too.
how big the gap
That's the
is,
point.
it's
Right.
hard to say that, you know, we need
Right.
to know, is it a $10,000 gap, is it a $30,000
I
gap?
understand, but I believe we have the lease with the landlord, not them, unfortunately.
I
So-
completely
so-
understand, but I'm
so-
looking to see
Yeah,
what's in there, is there something that can be recoverable to help close that gap?
To me, I agree with Mike completely, however, I just think at this point, we just have to finish all the bills of the last time and move forward.
And I completely understand, it's not fair to make the landlord suffer for what was a bad business deal.
In this case, also, at this facility, I believe this board has authorized the extension of some of the subtenants leases or renewed them. So that adds a little bit of complexity to the analysis if you were comparing it to one of the other accelerators where either they were vacant and you just walked away or you didn't renew. Here, you have actively engaged in renewal of something
And added some units to it.
and added.
And to me, this kind of goes back to the other item where we're not gonna be able to recoup some of those monies because of the stuff. Unfortunately, and hopefully moving forward, we.
Make better business decisions.
Right now, we're in open discussion. Any further open discussion, any more points? Anyone else?
Just one.
Please don't.
Yeah. Do we have a reserve account or some reserve money for this? So how we going to fund this?
We have fund balances, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, between the two agencies,
Yeah.
no $11 million in there.
Okay, good.
Thank God we are in a position where we do have funds that if the board decides to pay it, that we do have funds to pay. I would hate to be in a predicament where we wouldn't, then we have a totally different conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to figure that out. But
No, but I will say, you guys did a great job scaling everything back. I mean, and that was part of it, and that's why there's money there. Guys, they guys grinded it down and they visited and they scaled it way back. But we do have, whether we want to call it debt, cents, I don't know, that's a lot of money. But, and I don't know what the difference is.
I mean, it's a loser, there's no question about that. There's then vacant spaces, the chairman said, there's subsidized rent,
Yeah, I'm not.
delinquencies.
the overhead's not recoverable.
Right.
Like, we're gonna be paying $1,500 to Frontier for Ethernet and phone service and fiber, of which none of it's recoverable by those tenants.
Who's, some tenants aren't there. They're even there.
But that was my opinion. I wanted to just let you know before if anyone wants to make a motion to vote upon it, I will be voting against that portion of the bill. The remainder of the bill is on the table.
I'm against it as well, but I would probably vote for it. The rest of it. And at this point.
So is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion. It's similarly with the other questions we had earlier, so I'll
Make the motion on the full amount?
I'm a full.
I said,
No, a second. Any further discussion? This one, since it's the section, please roll call.
Sure, so just to be clear, this is a motion for the full payables, including the Middletown Rent.
Correct.
For 2021. Torelli,
No.
Tanberry,
Yes.
ODOT,
yes,
Spencer, Walsky,
Yes,
Kennedy,
Yes.
Rinaldi.
Yes.
6-5. No.
Page 11.
Page 11 on monthly contracts. UHY advisors, there's two charges here. Basically, we transitioned from UHY to RBT. Included in their final engagement letter, UHYs, they made it clear some charges for transition for year-end preparation, filing our 1099s. That's the $2,500. That's what was agreed upon. The bookkeeping is what they were doing regularly for us, their ongoing bookkeeping service. So that was for January of this year, but that is the last month that we did. So that means RBT took those duties over in January. That's what that is. Loki Grill, that is our typical site visit for local labor monitoring. To be clear, of course, this is a subject to come up later. We have a local labor policy, 85% construction labor on projects we incentivize. Needs to be local. Local meaning we have local seven mid-Hudson counties, essentially, the local workshed. We have a company that we pay to monitor that, to go on site, check driver's licenses and such, make sure that we have local people that are part of these jobs. Right now, that's being performed by Loki Grill. Again, we have an RFP that's open. We'll be reporting on that a little bit later. This is all pass-through funds. The applicants pay for this monitoring. We bill them, they pay us, it goes into an escrow account, and then we pay it out to the local labor monitoring. So this is 2480. These are for really two projects that they're monitoring right now. Fiorello or Green Thumb has just been on hold just because of the weather, the cold weather out in Warwick. Cannabis manufacturing incentivized back in April, but Orange Inn and 360 Fish Market and 360 Holdings Fish Market and Walkville two projects they're monitoring right now, and that's the total for this month, 2480. Then we have two charges from our general counsel, one for general counsel work, and I warned you last month, I think it was $150 or something ridiculous, that was not gonna be, the,
Where's general counsel?
it's Bruce K. Holstein, to the left of it.
No, it's not on here.
On page 11. This is on a different page.
It's not on twelve.
Are you looking at all other, at the top?
We're looking at monthly contracts, page
Monthly
11.
contracts,
Yeah,
But it's also not on all of it.
No, it's not, I'm looking at it right here, under monthly contracts.
what number on the page?
So is UHY at the top?
Yeah,
UHY,
Loki Grill?
Grill,
yeah,
and RBT, then Grand
That's
Hall.
it.
and Grand Opening.
So Bill, hold it till the special meeting.
Okay.
The front page.
Page. It's
That
just-
gives
that's
us a
just
total of
missing.
8,500.
Wow,
We can add it, I mean, if you have it, you want to present it.
I do right here, I don't know why it's different, wow.
So what's the ed?
There are two charges, one for general counsel from January 1st through January 31st, all the work we're doing with Sue, and again, I've talked to her multiple times a day, I try and be conscious of the costs, but we need her. That's $15,018.25, 15018.25. And then, of course, Bruce K. Holstein has also been doing work in the background on possible civil lawsuits against Casalino and the other bad actors. That work that they conducted from the middle of December through the end of February, those charges total $15,015, $15015.00. A total from Bruce K. Holstein, $30,033.25. I have a new grand total with RBT is $1825, right? That's on the, you see what that's for. And I have a grand total of $38,533.25. 38533.25.
Discussion. One point of discussion, previously at a board meeting, we talked about the allocation for litigation. I believe it was 20,000. So we need to reauthorize some of that. It's something to think about at potentially the next meeting. So if you could take a running total on that, I thought it was 20,000, just take a look at the minutes, it could have been more than that. We want to monitor and continue to.
I don't believe it was.
No?
I believe you're right. I don't think it was more than
So just keep a extra spreadsheet off to the side, so if we need to have a presentation and or a reauthorization for the extra money to continue with whatever we want to do or not do, that needs to be authorized. 'Cause that's, I'll call it an added item that requires board. Any discussion by board members?
Is that,
Ask as many questions as you need.
is that ongoing or is it done?
So we will potentially be going into executive session to talk about the specifics of what we're trying to do now. There's a lot of history with that, Jim, and I would ask you to meet with maybe Bill and Sue to go over some of the history. We had both criminal proceedings that happened, then there was county legislature and the comptroller came out with a report, then the legislature came out with a report, and we're using all that stuff to make a determination moving forward on what we want to do in an executive session. We can talk about some of the
Yeah.
specifics.
Great.
Any further discussion? I entertain a motion to accept the monthly contract amount 38,533.25 as accepted. Anybody want to make that motion?
I move the motion.
Thank you, Noel. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Sue. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carried unanimous. Page 12,
all other.
all other.
The first is to B4 Holdings, just what the chairman was describing. We're no longer paying rent to them. Any rent we received from the subtenants, our former subtenants, is being credited back to the landlord. So this is rent we received from two different tenants there. So that's that figure. Town of New Windsor, this is rent paid for our two buildings that remain there. I'm sorry, that's rent we recovered, I apologize, and remitting back to the town, same scenario. For the buildings we are no longer leasing there, but those tenants, Mello and Zeppo are there, they send us payment, we send it right to the town of Middletown. The escrow account, you see,
What's the escrow used for?
this is for the other side of the, local labor monitor. Last item on here, Frances Ross, she's our stenographer. She did the transcripts for Southgate Flats on 216 and Walgreens 214, $300 each. That's what that bill is. And the last is we had a fire inspection at the New Windsor accelerator, Avenue of the Americas, $75. That's on there as well. The grand total for all other category of $12,984.62.
So, quick discussion, just a little funny to me. So our landlord is the town of New Windsor, and they're gonna charge us $75 to inspect their own building. All right, it's a great place in America. They own the building, it's their building.
That's cheap, some of them charge $150.
Yeah, I'm sure, so we're looking to get away with it.
The city of Newburgh is $100 per unit.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And
If
you know,
they own the building.
Yes.
It just shows, I just make a point that, you would think that accelerator landlords for municipalities would be more amenable to be in partner with that. Any further discussion? On page 12? We can entertain a motion to pay the $12,984.60. There's no further discussion.
No, my only thought is why is it called order instead of just.
Because it doesn't go into the other.
No, instead of just real estate or something like that.
We've had a lot of different stuff there, it's not just real estate.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of like the stuff that's.
It's really what the chairman said, those
Yeah.
fall into the other categories.
Yeah, okay.
We can always change the name of it later on if we want, and even break it down further. All right, so we had a motion by Sue, anyone have a second? Second. Thank you, Jim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, carried unanimously, 7. All right. That brings us through finance, correct?
That's it.
All right, moving right along, sports. Chairman's report, I'll be quick on this. Welcome, Jim. I know it's your first meeting and we'll try to update you the best we can about some of the stuff that's been going on. If you have any questions, please, whether it's during the meeting, after the meeting, just say after council, feel free. And that's what anybody, I know it's just kind of new to everybody. Not that I'm the elder person here that knows a lot of it, but I've been here since the transition last March. You followed me thereafter and so did Dr. Odak. So please pick our brains whenever you want about any topic or any question that you may have. We don't have the answer to find. In regards to the chairman's report, what I'd like to focus today on is kind of like reincorporating ourselves and coming up with a distinct pattern that we can look forward to. We have this pattern of monthly meetings, but obviously there's a lot more detail that needs to be discussed. And that's usually done during committee meetings. By state statute, we're required to have certain committee meetings on a regular basis, then other committee meetings at will, depending upon the stuff that we want to talk about. So what we'd like to begin to do is to start scheduling them on a recurring basis. What the board will look to decide is a couple things. We have ones that are required by statute, the other ones that that have to be a couple times a year, and we'll rely on council to make sure that we are held to that and we meet all of our obligations. Secondly, we have to decide as a board on how we want to constitute our committees. Right now, the way that we've done it since I came on since last March, we've had a couple committee meetings and a couple special meetings where we've had a bunch of committees at the same time, which is not probably the right way to do it, but it was just a way to do it. Yeah, it was just a way to get stuff done, right? What we decided then, and it's up to the board, this board to decide, doesn't need to be now, but sometime to think about and to decide, is how we want to constitute. Currently, the way that we did and we voted on, I believe, or at least in practice we did, is we allowed the committees to be attended by all members. And at the committees, we also decided, this is like I said, a lot of the previous board, decided upon this. Not the one that got in trouble, the interim board, that some people love, was that at the committee meetings, we're not gonna make any formal approvals of anything. We would just bring stuff to the regular board to speak about it again, discuss it again, and potentially bring to a vote again. So that's what's currently kind of in place, but it's not because we have new board members and no one's been part of a committee, and nor we had one in the last couple of months. So we want to start putting some targets on the wall, and I think the best way to do that is to have each individual board member work with staff to come up with times that you're available, whether it's a location, we can do it here, we can do it at the office, potentially we can do them virtually for a while during this interim period. And they don't need to last forever, but they need, the ones that are obligated, we have to get done, and the ones that we need to do as needed, like, I'll say like an accelerator committee, to talk specifically about the accelerators and what the ideas are, hash out anything, get the information, so when we come to a board meeting, we can all have the information and be ready to talk about it, discuss it, and potentially vote on stuff, instead of doing anything last minute. We don't want to, just receive something today, try to read it while we're voting. That's not the way that we should probably do that. So with that, I think the best way is to have everyone get in touch with staff in regards to what's the best times that you're available. Somebody have, some people have work commitments, some people don't do stuff after work. We'll try the best possible. I also would like to, no matter what we decide, whether we had distinct members of the board on a specific committee, I'd also, as a board chair, would like to say that the committee meetings would be open to everyone to attend and to participate in. Now, with that, we have to watch. And I say watch is if we decide to have 7 members attend and be all members of a committee, then we need 4 votes to get out of committee to come to the full board to do a vote type of thing. Where if say you had 3 members, all you need is 2 votes to do stuff. So it's a little bit quirky, but that's the way boards are. You have to have a majority of a committee to move stuff forward. Obviously, at a board level, you have to have a majority of the board to move stuff forward. I hope I'm leading us down the right path.
You're doing a fine job.
Sure.
Can I ask for clarification,
Yeah.
council? So if we have a committee made up of 4 members.
Yeah.
Can all board members attend that committee meeting regardless if they're actually on the committee?
Absolutely. And here's what you need to understand about your committees. It's the rules about open meetings are the same for committees as they are for the
Yes.
entire body.
So these committee meetings are gonna be fully open, televised.
Correct.
We probably, I think it's up to the committee if they want to have someone come in to speak or not, if there's like a subject matter expert or something like that. But they're gonna be just like this one. It's gonna be live, and we're gonna have staff at it, we're gonna have, so it's
They'll be
all the
mimicked.
same. It's gonna feel the same, it's just that, how do we want to constitute it in order to get something out of committee to the board? We know at the board level, we have 7, and the majority of 7 is in order to move something forward.
And many IDAs will not formalize every board member to be on every committee simply out of respect for everybody's time. Sometimes there's a lot to do, you're busy people. So if you look at the board and you pull out the strengths of your board members to constitute those committees, everybody's always welcome. But here are the actual members of this board. And your job as a committee member of that particular committee is to review whatever is before you. If it's finance, then it's the finance. And your job is to make recommendations to the full board. So if you were on the finance committee, you were on the Payables, you would come to the next regular board meeting and make a recommendation to the board to accept the financials or not.
Yeah, and we would still discuss them at the full board, so, we have to be cognizant, like council said, of everyone's time. Not everyone's gonna be able to attend. I mean, if you do 3 or 4 committee meetings plus this meeting, it could, and I don't know if everyone signed up for all that type of time. So we have to be cognizant of that, but knowing right well that nothing can be fully approved by either the IDA or the OCFC committee without coming to.
So my question for council would be, is there a specific number of subcommittees that are required?
Yes.
And is there a minimum number of members of each subcommittee that is required?
Yes, so you are, by operation of law, you have to have an audit committee, a finance committee, and a governance committee. And I believe that you have to have at least 3 members on each of those committees, but I will confirm that with staff. I will double check my
Is that by bylaws or by state statute?
statutes.
Because we also have bylaws that are, probably need to be rewritten, and that's part of, I think, governance, that governance should like mark that thing up and make it real. I hate to say it that way.
Bylaws should be, in technicality, reviewed in 5 years by a bylaws committee and updated. That's just years of.
Here it would be your governance committee that would do that, but yes.
So the one way I'm thinking about that, in order to save time tonight, is we're not gonna try to say, hey, what do you like, what do you, I think we talk to staff, see what your likes, dislikes are, see what your time commitment can be, see what your availability is, and we'll have them try to put together a matrix of what matches up, and we'll just do the best we can. I'll be willing to join every committee at this point in order to help lead us through these next couple of months until everyone feels comfortable. But like I said, there's not really a leadership position at a committee. Everyone's gonna have a vote that's on a committee, so that depending on how we set it up. So irregardless to me, I'm gonna try to make myself available whenever I can. I know that I have working on this Monday through Friday, and I can't get to any place until 5 days. You know, others may have, it might be easier for you, maybe I'll do something virtually, you may be able to work from your office if you're allowed to, I'm not. So there's like a bunch of those different things. Instead of trying to hash it all out individually, I think we all talk to staff, get them what we have, and they'll come back with a recommendation. And I don't know if we need it, but we could actually call one if we needed to, couldn't we?
Call one more.
A committee meeting once Phil has all of that. Or do we need to?
You need to understand,
Understand.
you need to publicly say who's on those meetings, who's been appointed, and you honestly could do it if you want to. Or you can bring it back at the next board meeting and say, here are the committees we're gonna vote on.
Okay. We'll figure it out. All right, so that was really the crux of my chairman's report, was that and we have some really cool projects that are finishing up construction. So what I would ask is that if and when these do come to completion, that we ask staff to give us an invite to those ceremonies, come to them if you can, or patronize them if you can, understand what was done, so you can understand the impact of when you're making a vote of what it actually means to the community. I know there's been some great ones over the years, there's some ones that are under construction now. So that's a takeaway that I want everyone to feel comfortable with, and that, you know, and literally to the point I think I talked to Bill at a previous meeting, is that we should potentially start advertising on those construction sites. Hey, you know, this is incentivized by the Orange County Industrial Development. You know, start getting some positive press for this and start winning back some of the respect that all of us deserve for stepping up and doing this for no cost or for no pay.
Well, and I also think something like that, I mean, I'm big on promoting, sorry, that's what I do for a living, is if we want to attract into the county. So putting our name out there behind some of these fantastic projects will get more national attention and bring the bigger players into the area.
Exactly.
Totally agree. I agree with you on the signage too. We don't know about that.
We have
And
some,
it could be on the-
but they're not big.
And in the beginning, it could be just on the construction. And then maybe later, it's a plaque that we put up in their business, you know, so if someone comes into their boardroom, they say, oh, wow, what's that? You know, there's many different ways to look at that.
Big on social media,
And the
social
community,
media
we're gonna
is.
see these things, they're gonna say, okay, now they say.
Yeah, social, yeah.
They have to put a cornerstone.
Which, question, now that we're going down the rabbit hole, do we have Instagram and Facebook accounts that are actively fed?
We have LinkedIn and Facebook we're using right now. We're not doing Instagram right now. I really didn't think that was, the accelerators fit that a little bit more, but I know it's popular. I do understand that, but it just didn't seem like the platform that was really most appropriate for idea. I consider.
You're old, that's why. I'm just saying, under 35 bunch.
No question.
That is their platform.
Definitely.
All right, so that's my chairman's report. Vince, I know that since you're remote, we don't hear you speak up, but if you need to speak up, honestly, please let us know, either, you know, cough or like tap on the thing or not.
Okay, sure. All right, so
Right.
thank you.
Time, because it's, you know, you're concentrating when you get involved, but you don't remember that there's a camera over there.
Right.
You didn't have to tell no.
No, just spoke in the camera. It was.
My wife thought it was natural.
All right, so that's my chairman's report. Back over to you, Bill, for CEO. Thank you.
Terrific. Okay, so my only, I'll open with a question. I do feel because of what's going on that we need to convene as a finance committee And I think we need to convene our accelerator committee, because of things coming to a head. So I would like to, maybe when I'm done, we could go back to that, if, I'd like to constitute those sooner than later, that's for sure. Because I really would like to have, the finance committee meeting the next couple of weeks before, in advance of our April board meeting, so that some outcomes from that can come to the board meeting. One such example is, we're gonna ask the finance committee to review the vouchers we received from our agents of the IDA. These are, agencies, specifically Women's Enterprise Development Center, Hudson Valley Agricultural Development, and Orange County Youth Bureau that, had agreements with the prior administration, to perform work that they felt, complemented our mission. We have not yet paid those. We're going to have interviews with presentations made by those agencies to the finance committee. The finance committee can vet that and determine whether or not they think they're worthy of reimbursement for the services. So that's an immediate need for finance. Audit, I do have to ask council again, once a year, you said when the audit's done is now the time. So then we review it before our special meeting. We get together and have a review it.
If you can't get the finance committee to do it beforehand, at least this whole board needs to do it.
Right.
But preferably it should go through finance. Yes.
Should there be two
I mean,
separate-
through the audit, that's what I meant.
So should there be a separate body committee?
There is.
Finance, from
There is.
finance? So there's no people that can-
I'll jump to the accelerators next here, just to give you an update, quick update on those, and again, I think we need to come around on this. First of all, there's, for the chairman's request, I have a more detailed, more in-depth packet here, that has each accelerator location, subtenant information stuff. This is just the first sheet. It gives you, I know it's in small type, but it gives you an overview of the leases that we were under, and currently are under, in the various locations around the county. Right in the middle of the graph there, lease expires, lease began, you see, the three that are bolded, December 31st of 21, those are the three buildings in the New Windsor accelerator that, we no longer, rent. And then you see the other spaces that we are currently renting when we started doing so, when they expire, not only what the rent fees are, but what are the common area charges, what are we receiving in subtenant rent, and then it allows you to see really what's the monthly net rent that we're paying. Similar question that was raised before about Middletown, some specifics about our out clauses, and a few other notes in there. So this is just a frame of reference for you to look at. I want to talk about the New Windsor accelerator, which has come up a number of times this evening. Because those 3 of our 5 leases there were expiring at the end of the last calendar year, we approached the town of New Windsor back in August of 21 about, to be clear, we're not going to renew these leases. The other 2 that remain, we won't renew those either. So we want you to know we want to get out of the accelerator business. At least that's the direction we're going. And especially from the chairman's urging, I made it very clear that our primary concern is to help these tenants land safely, softly somewhere else, whatever that means. So I try to help with site selection, helping them find other locations. Some have different scenarios, whatever that might be. Anyway, we went to the town of New Windsor. I actually ended up being able to get a meeting on August 31st. I explained our scenario, talked about what's going on, and we explained we want to help connect them, the town, with these subtenants of ours, so that we can get out from under the middle of it. They responded. I remember the town attorney, the town assessor, even police officers, building department and such, and we were on the same page. Well, they spent the next several months doing their own research, going to the sites, measuring them because our measurements were estimates, this, that, and the other, doing a full analysis. I checked in with them several times. They asked me for information about the tenants, about the spaces. We provided all of it right away. They asked me multiple times, like they missed some of it or forgot they had it, we resent it. I checked in throughout these several months, what's going on, we're getting close here. The chairman also instructed me, in a board meeting, to make it clear as we approach December, let the town know in writing, we're not renewing these leases, we did that. Again, I keep checking in, where are we, nothing's happening. We all get into the new year, we're out of those leases, any rent that we told the tenants, you should still be paying rent, but we're gonna send it to the town, we did that. And finally this week, we heard from the town, we're ready, we got all the information together, and they essentially said, we think we want everyone out. There is one space that we discovered, they told us. The garage unit, the licensed studios or Informed Lightworks is in, basically just a garage, doesn't have a bathroom, does not have a valid certificate of occupancy, it's in a legal space. They're in a space illegally. Previous administration knew this, they were part of this, they enabled it. And that's.
So much for the inspection.
Yeah, right, exactly. Fire inspector picked that up, I'm not sure what happened. So, the town put notice on that space saying they want them out of there by Friday, this Friday. Of course, I called right away saying this is one of the spaces you're talking about. That group, these two young men, Lights and Studios, is a lighting company. I've been trying to support them as well. It's a little different scenario. Mr. K. Murray and Mr. Terrell.
Really cool products.
Yeah,
Really cool
we
products.
toured their space, they're a very small space, but we got a full tour around the garage there. And looking for some support. I've been trying to connect them with other companies in the area that can help them, provide resources. We've even had a couple of meetings, we have one tomorrow actually, with local manufacturers about the idea of being kind of manufacturing mentors to them. Because they don't just need to rent a space, they're still innovating their product, they're trying to really get ready to launch. So we talked to these manufacturers about maybe carving out 1,000 square feet or so in their large production facilities to allow them to support them in there. And in return, they could have tremendous brain power at their disposal. These gentlemen are RPI grads, lighting engineers. One of the companies we met with, a town of Waltham manufacturer, they actually, they manufacture a completely different type of product, but they want to utilize lighting for safety and some other solutions that they want to solve. So they're interested in maybe some sort of bargain there. So that's what we've been working on. We have another such meeting like that tomorrow, as I said, and then the rug is kind of getting pulled out from under that. So I did speak with the town. These gentlemen called the town as well. We actually had a call together. It looks like they could give them maybe a month to get out, but they need to find another home. There are 3 other tenants there, thanks for your patience here. One is Limberti Handbags. I've mentioned this before, not to the new board members, but they are an Italian handbag company. During the lockdown of COVID, they weren't in the country at all. They weren't stateside. They do have a New York City liaison I ended up speaking to when I came out of the job here. They ended up, again, because of prior administration, an adjacent tenant actually moved into their space, so they weren't there. They were given okay to do that, but they ended up taking over the whole space. I came on and I reached out to all these tenants. I met with Limberti on that site. We all discovered at that moment that somebody else was in their space. So we secured their space. We put it in a secure area. Limberti, they say that they're interested in staying, but then the other 2 are Secco, Silk Street, and Mellow, which is the last 2 are quite, I think, doing quite well. They're very busy. They're businesses that would like to stay. So I've connected them with the town of New Windsor, the town attorney who's handling this, to try and get them to just today, after my meeting with the town yesterday, to introduce them, and they're gonna start the dialogue. Hopefully they can come to terms, become their landlords. What was troubling about the meeting that I didn't expect was that the town said, I know this has been going on a while, it took us a couple of months, or not even 6 months. They believe that we are responsible for the rent in those 3 spaces where the leases are expired, but because our former subtenants are still in there, the town thinks that we owe them the rent for these past 3 months. I explained the board is not gonna be, happy about that, not gonna wanna support it. I understand the logic, but again, we tried in good faith for 6 months to get some action there. I don't know, I don't wanna say they dragged their feet, they said it took a while to collect all this information, maybe so, but in good faith, we tried to work again to protect these subtenants. And now we're in a difficult spot with the town where they think we're responsible. So I need to go back. I would like to have an accelerated meeting and discuss these issues. And also, as you talked about, Mr. Chairman, for all the accelerator sites, let's identify some paths forward, some avenues we can take. Because I think we all understand, ultimately, we'd like to divest ourselves of the accelerator program because it not being very successful and being an incredible, suck of money, a complete vacuum of money. So this is, everyone knows our intention, our subtenants, our landlords, but this is what's happening with New Windsor. Obviously, we have similar concerns in Middletown and other places. We want to make sure we cleanly get out of those. So I would like to have an accelerated committee meeting soon to discuss these and bring a recommendation back to the board. Okay, that's New Windsor. There's the CEO, Lights and Studios. So I was in contact with them again. They're the lighting company. They did write me today. After all this kind of came about, and they did ask me to request the following of the board. Given that the town of New Windsor is pushing us out of the garage on such short notice, we'd like to request the following assistance. One, help with relocation costs to move out of the garage. I will say that the accelerator, the IDA former administration moved these gentlemen out of 605 Broadway into this garage space, this illegal space. So they were looking, there was a company that helped them move them. They'd like to use the same kind of company because they were efficient, took half a day, and they didn't break anything. That's number one. Could we help them move? Number two, they owe some back rent. They're asking if we could waive the back rent. Please understand that when we moved to the garage that we're currently in, we had to clean it up, paint it ourselves, pay for it ourselves on short notice, had to disassemble our equipment and spend time recalibrating and setting everything back up. What we owe barely covers the time we put into address the disruption. Now we're about to go over that process all over again. Thank you and the board for your consideration of being the principal Lights and Studios. So that's the last piece with the New Windsor situation. I don't want to have a discussion. I'll just keep going unless you just cut me off. Our audit I mentioned is coming up. I'd like to get the audit committee together so we can review that. So move forward with that. ABO training. As new board members, you're required to do training with the authority's budget office. Everyone has been registered. Thank you all for making the time to do that. Registered for April 20th at 9:30 a.m. I'll participate in that session as well. There is, let's see, board training. Sue and I have been looking to schedule a board training, kind of orientation sorts for the newer board members. We have a couple of dates that we throw out. I'd like you to consider. It seems like the consensus of the group is that after work hours are better, 5 or 5:30. Two options: Wednesday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. That's next Wednesday, or April 5th at 5:30 p.m. We could get a consensus, and I can certainly follow up with you all unless I speak.
Those are both Wednesdays?
What is it Wednesday, what is it Tuesday?
That's right, the 5th is a Tuesday. And it would probably be less than an hour
Yeah, 45 minutes.
via Zoom for this session. But March 23rd and April 4th, I'm sorry, April 5th are 2 days that work well for Sue and myself. I won't bog down. Please look, and I will follow up with you tomorrow morning about that.
What's the time?
Wednesday the 23rd would be 5 p.m. And Tuesday, April 5th would be 5:30 p.m.
It would only be one of those days.
Yes, to be clear, so those are options. All new board members did sign their conflict of interest forms, certificate of independence and such. Mr. Spencer, I know you have just a couple other items I put in front of you, but then everyone has everything signed there. We appreciate that. The audit and our Paris reporting is due March 31st, the end of this month. We are doing very well with that. Working Harris Speech is helping us complete the Paris report. Obviously, the audit is being done by JGS. I'm going to talk often about New York State Economic Development Corp, NYSEDC. They are essentially a trade organization for us as economic developers in the state, especially as IMEAs, a tremendous resource. I went to my first conference last year, which was very helpful. So I met Sue. We were looking for general counsels. I've been heard some other candidates that we brought in. They had a conference, it's a winter conference, I guess, in January. I was registered. I was not able to go because my daughter was born earlier that week. I did go up for dinner that week. Sue did go to one day. There was a discussion about prevailing wage. That's something we'll talk about. New York State EDC also announced a virtual IDA Academy. That is April 12th. I did reach out to the EDC and asked if it would be appropriate not just for staff, but for board members. They said absolutely. So I'm going to share that with you. It is an all-day session, but it's a virtual, obviously online session, and it really is a crash course on best practices for IDAs and such. I think it would be an excellent opportunity for all of you. I'm certainly, myself and staff will be participants in that. We all could use that additional training. That's April 12th. I guess I'll share that with you. And I also, if you're okay, I gave New York State EDC all of your IDA email addresses so that you could be directly on their correspondence about future conferences. I know Mr. Trolley, you've been interested in some of the programs. That way you can all get your own information. You can obviously unsubscribe if you don't want the emails, but it is useful, and I don't think they overdo it, overbombard you with emails, and some great training opportunities, other learning opportunities. That's that. We are working on new signage at the headquarters. Right now, the headquarters, it looks like it's the accelerator. There was an enormous sign internally in our boardroom, our former boardroom. I've removed that. We patched that up and we paint, And I'm getting quotes from 3 local companies now to replace the sign on the outside. I'm also gonna speak to them about larger signs on project sites that we incentivize, that the chairman was talking about. So I'll keep you updated on that. I'm constantly doing presentations pretty much every week to local rotaries, chambers of commerce. I'm presenting with Maureen Hallahan from the Orange County Partnership at the next Orange County Association of Town, Villages, and Cities. Let's verify that date. Sorry. That is on March 29th, that's Tuesday. Those are monthly meetings. I go to those most every month. It's a very well-organized and collegial association of Orange County municipal leaders. That's important for me in this role, of course. It wasn't my prior role, so I would always attend those. So I'll be there, and then we're gonna give a presentation about positive economic development practices in Orange County, how to attract quality projects to your town. I'll talk about ideas and incentives. Maureen will talk about business attraction and expansion strategies as well. Let me just kind of reintroduce some of you know Mr. Conor Eckert is here as a guest. He had been for the last few years the executive director of the town of Montgomery IDA, and he had just became the vice president for the Orange County Partnership. So he's now part of the partnership team, one of our team members. Happy to have him here. Congratulations to you. Looking forward to working even more closely. I know he loved his work in Montgomery, but he was always chomping at the bit looking for more projects outside. So now you have all of Orange County that you can have. So look forward
You're
to
gonna have fun at the idea world.
Absolutely.
It's a good time.
Okay, let's see, just a couple others. This is my longest presentation ever, but lots to share with you. Regional IDA meeting. This is something that the chairman and I have talked about. We want to have close relationships with our local IDAs and with our peer county IDAs in the region. It's something I've been talking, Connor and I spoke with Steve Borath from Rockland about it a couple of times. I've had discussions with Sarah Lee from Dutchess County, and it's been organized. And we actually have our first such meeting with the regional IDAs coming up on April 5th on a Tuesday. So happy, I'm looking forward to that. We're going to talk about issues, even though we are friendly competitors, I'll say, we're competitors nonetheless, but we're going to talk about issues that impact IDAs that we're dealing with. Prevailing wage being something everyone's looking for more information on, new law that impacts IDAs. So that meeting's April 5th. I'm really looking forward to that. Two last items. We are looking to go into executive session at the end here, just to talk about our civil proceedings with our general counsel and our partner Joe Forcello. So we'll talk about that at the end. And last, Russ, thank you for the update about the remote meetings allowance being extended. And that was news to me. I know it's expiring today. And all the board members have asked me this question, and it's come up about once that's expired and we can't meet remotely, are we going to continue meeting here? We're going to meet elsewhere. So that's something for discussion now or at some point.
Yeah, and Bill, it was literally happened today, so.
Okay.
It's brand new information.
And Russ, is it only for 1 month?
Yeah, it goes through April.
And I will say that I corresponded with Brian Silva, who is the executive director of EDC, which is the entity that Bill was talking about, because I was looking for another IPA just prior to this expiration date, which is today, in terms of was it going to be extended or not. And the intel he was getting from the governor's office was that he thought there might be one more extension, which is the one that came out today, but that beyond that, they did not anticipate any further extensions. So you will eke in one more meeting where you have the flexibility to participate remotely, but once that expires, board members are required to be in person. If you're not here, you're welcome to participate, but you can't vote. You're not counted for quorum, etc. There's an exception if you were to notice your meetings in both locations, and both locations were open to the public. But generally,
So just to explain that if Jim, for example, if you wanted to participate remotely, you would have to provide notice saying where you're actually participating in the meeting, like in your home or in Florida or whatever it might be, and you have to provide public, the public to be able to access that from the apartment.
so that's how.
So you can do it, but it's a little.
Right.
Basically, open
More
up
than
your door.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, on the, you want to have a finance meeting before the night. I'm gonna be in Jamaica on the beach. So,
So that's what we're holding the meeting.
yeah, that's yeah, but we need to then just open the government, just that. You know, spot by your here.
Now, Noel, did you tell me you were available April first, was the day before you go? or-
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're doing it by Zoom, then it doesn't matter. You got it.
Oh, that's right, we can do that, yeah. Okay,
Well, then I would add, Bill, to your report, the county has financial disclosure for all people that are appointed to boards. I think it's to the end of April,
Yes.
so
April 20th, I think
something,
it is.
or middle of April, so if you haven't done that, it came like in a little package. You can do it online as well, on the county's website. Yeah, on the county's website through, I believe, their ethics department,
Board of Ethics.
Board of Ethics, thank you. You can do it that way, or you can handwrite it in something, whatever you have to do. That's every year.
Absolutely. Please let me know if you haven't done it and you have any questions, any concerns, reach out to me, please, make sure you have it.
It's not that difficult.
It's not,
It's all about if you have knowledge or personal knowledge of any direct conflicts or contracts with the county.
like with you or a spouse,
Yeah,
partner.
it's not really about financials, it's all about what you are in front of the county already with.
And I think you all understand, we want to be as transparent, as compliant as possible, so it starts with, you coming in and filling that paperwork out, completing your training, all that, so I'm gonna be a nudge about that, but we want to make sure that we're 100% compliant. Everything's right. Okay.
Sorry, Bill.
No, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
members of the board, I do have to excuse myself. I apologize. Hopefully we'll work this out in the future, but obligations, beyond this as well. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. That's the end of my report. Yeah.
6:05. Okay, new business. Looks like we have a couple projects that we have to discuss.
Yes, Southgate Flats, this has already come before you, this is the hotel, project in Highland Falls. Due to COVID, like so many other projects, it was delayed, due to COVID, the budgets, really blew up, the construction budget. So, Mr. Rick Minikowski, the principal of Southgate Flats, also the owner of Thayer Hotel at West Point, they came to us looking for an increase in the sales tax exemption, this figures, estimates increased. We had a public hearing because the increase of the sales tax exemption exceeded $100,000, so that triggered a public hearing, so we had that. You passed a resolution to approve it after the public hearing, but it's just basically a kind of a typo. There was some insufficient language in the resolution. So Harris Beach revised that, and do you have it in front of you?
I don't have that.
You,
Second
Southgate
supplemental.
No, was not in my packet.
I don't think it was in the packet.
It's in mine.
Is it?
There's a second.
Second supplemental final
Yes.
resolution.
You did have it?
Page 13.
No, I'm just looking at everything that was emailed to me, I didn't,
Okay, give me my email.
yeah,
Well, there was a new email after the.
yeah, it wasn't in that either. I downloaded everything, thank you. Right?
Russ, is there anything else to comment, or is that?
No, it was like, as Bill noted, it was essentially a typographical error on our part. And so it's just a correction to make sure that they have the requisite amount of sales tax exemption that they need to undertake the project.
So looking for your approval of that?
Any discussion? Questions by the board?
Is this on the West Point lands?
No, it's in the village of Highland Falls, just outside the gates. It's in a former, very dilapidated, hotel. I think they charge by the hour, the Hotel Christina. Very,
You're gonna take
That must have been
Christiana.
by the federal credit union right
Correct.
there.
correct. Those buildings all came down, they had been demolished and they're ready for this new project. So it really is kind of shocking on the village of Highland Falls. It's very-
Desperately.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is.
Any further discussion? Then accept the motion to accept the second or the second supplemental final resolution. I'll make. Thank you, Dean. I'll second that. Any further discussion?
How much was the total sales tax for that? I got this.
I don't have a copy in
I
front of me.
didn't really get to read through it. That's my apologies, but.
Russ, I don't have the resolution in front of me. I gave my copy.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. I think the total is $2,051,078
Okay, very good. No, cool.
Discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Torelli? Sorry.
I'm sorry, who
I
moved?
make Dean made the motion, I second.
Thank you.
Torelli?
Yes.
Dan Burry?
Yes.
Oda?
yes,
Spencer?
yes,
Walsky?
Yes.
Rinaldi?
Yes.
Kennedy's absent, so 6 ayes.
Yeah,
You do?
since I'm just seeing this one first. This is all predicated if they have all their approvals, to do everything they want to do. But from municipal, state, federal, they have it all.
Well, on the state side, I mean, on the local side, it has to be done before we can finally vote on it. So it has to go through that, correct, Sue? That's-
Oh, well, this is, I will refer to Russ, but what I would say is normally, your documents that provide the benefits require that prior to them starting, they have all the necessary approvals. I can't speak to whether they do.
Yeah, that's correct, Sue. This is a local approval, and all we're doing is fixing a clerical error, frankly, to make sure that they have the requisite amount of sales tax exemptions that they need.
This is, so they went through the plan, they're ready.
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had their approvals now for a couple of years. And this,
And Mike, it's one of those things where they wanted, and the board, frankly, they were hard and fast to get going and then stalled because of COVID and the numbers changed. And so we're just making sure that they have the requisite approvals in hand to get the project started.
This is the final.
yeah, this is just a revision.
I was involved in something. If I could, I mean, I don't want to bring it up. Years ago, I was asked to be part of a group that was gonna arrange for farming in West Point at, yeah, and we got talked to us, federal government and the PS who wanted a piece of land. Sure. And they told us what we could and could not rent cars to. So we found a bought site in Highland Falls. We thought that's great, we'll do that, do our thing. And they actually pressed us and said, you're not doing it unless you comply with other months. That's why I asked. They have all the approvals.
Yeah.
It never happened.
He must know something because, right, which I didn't realize, they also own the whole thing. That's what it's credit. They operate it. Yeah.
He owns and operates.
Owns and operates, yeah.
Chairman, I don't know, can we get a session on how to analyze and understand the cost benefit translation?
Yeah,
We get a part of the finance committee, right?
sure,
Or-
exactly.
Yeah, good.
That would work.
Yes, or,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's done by the county, but maybe we could bring the county person in or get, or understand exactly how the calculation.
Yeah, now the county calculates the real property department here on the second floor here, they calculate our pilot schedules or models, you know, what payments will be. And then we take that information and put it into a tool that we purchased, that we use for the cost benefit analysis. So now a lot of it's behind the scenes with the formulas and such behind the Excel spreadsheet, but there's a lot I could share with you about that. Finance can be a great opportunity.
Right. Moving right along, we have the next project, Bill?
Yes, next is Sativa Medical, medical cannabis manufacturer processing at the Warwick Tech Park site. They have come to the IDA for sales tax exemption and a pilot agreement. We held a public hearing, well, we opened it last Monday, and we didn't have a completed pilot schedule. Really, the real property wanted to confirm with the assessor who was out for a period, and they did verify the amount. That's why I did send you a slightly updated version today, early this morning, with the updated pilot schedule and updated cost benefit analysis. We had the public hearing, we extended it, we reopened it to allow us to post the new pilot schedule and cost benefit analysis, and allow people to review it and make comment. We had comments, the town supervisor, Michael Sweden, did send a letter of support for the requested incentives for this project. As long as it, which is what the request is, it's for the status of the project now, because there's a shell there of the building, and any improvements to the site beyond. So we will only incentivize that, give them a phase in or an abatement of the property taxes from where they are now to completion, as well as sales tax exemption, only on materials for the future, for phases now going forward, not for anything that was. We did cost benefit analysis, as I mentioned. Let's see, they would be looking to create 187 jobs for construction, 187 direct, 92 indirect. I don't think it's in your packet, but it's why I sent to you separately today. Total earnings for during construction of $20,839,000. A local spend totaling $60,729,000. For ongoing operational status of the project, permanent jobs, 100 jobs, 64 indirect, with earnings totaling $164,289,293. Let's see, sales tax exemption requested is $2.153 million. The total costs, so what is it costing the IDA, the public, to provide these benefits? $8,621,439. The benefits, locally, let's see, to private individuals, $185 million. To the public, $8 million. State benefits, $9.6 million. Total benefits to the state and region, $202,889,660, at a total cost of $7,893,282. I'm gonna break it down locally. The benefit is $167 million plus, at a cost of $6.7 million. That's a benefit to cost ratio of 25-1. For the state, the benefit is $8.35 million. The cost is $1.148 million, for a benefit to cost ratio for the state of 7-1. Overall, the project has a 22-1 benefit to cost ratio. That's the analysis we did and showed with the public. Representing Sativa, I hope they're still with us and awake. Colleen Hughes and Sean Baravecchia. It is before the board now to consider a final resolution to award incentives.
And I just want to add for the board, in your resolution, it's outlined that seeker has previously been undertaken by the town of Warwick. The company signed an acknowledgement to the board indicating that they have supplied the requirements under that seeker review, and we are satisfied with that. The town had previously issued a negative declaration. Bill noted the amount of sales and use tax will not exceed $2.153 million, and this is a 15-year pilot, which is in accordance with the
And the same pilot we gave green from the beginning.
With that, one of the things on the longer spreadsheet, which I really like to highlight in these instances, are that the special taxing jurisdictions are at 100%. So from day one, they're getting their full allotment of what they're supposed to be getting. So that's also a big win for them, and this helps not only bring this project to fruition and finish, but also people can start literally budgeting for the revenues, the tax revenues, and the special tax jurisdictions, as well as the local tax jurisdictions and such, not the, and also the construction jobs and the permanent jobs. So once again, right along the lines of types of projects that we've incentivized, this is comparable to the one we've already approved previously for a different tenant in that area. This is also a follow-up on the major investment that the IDA made as part of the Warwick Valley LBC New Industrial Park, which we helped incentivize through a quasi shovel-ready program that was done and has been outstanding. It's like a model that hopefully New York State EDC can use as an example of maybe next year's an example of how to properly do economic development. And we look forward to something like this. So I will be supporting this, but I'll leave this open for discussion and any potential questions that any board members may have.
How close is this to the other facility? I know it's very.
Across the
Across the
street.
street. Okay, so that's that also, but it has nothing to do with any of the state properties or the other than that. So that's the question.
Were these former state owned?
This is all the.
Yeah.
So it's all of it.
But purchased by the town of.
Money's coming from the state. I wasn't just curious.
On the state. They're eligible to receive state incentives if they wanted to. I don't know if they
I
have.
don't believe they went to Empire State for incentives.
No, for the IBA.
I don't think we're getting anything. No, the LBC has fully paid us back what was originally agreed upon in regards to that. And that was in excess of close to $3 million out of 3.
That was a green thumb close, because that was the last part. City purchased the property a few years ago, and of course, built the shell. Then green thumb, it was the final purchase of the 10 shovel-ready pad sites that were available there. We recouped our share of that.
Can I just make one more
Please do.
clarification? Last month, you approved an initial resolution which authorized the public hearing, and there, I just want to clarify something that was in that resolution. The project process outlined in the application, full project, including they're calling phase 2, which is an expansion of the greenhouse. The initial resolution was misstated that we did not have all the information. We thought that was an additional component, but the project cost as outlined in their application includes the totality of the project that is represented in your application.
And we're glad to have support of the local municipality. That's great that they understand the program and just like they did with the other one, so that's good. So, open for discussion. Any questions by board members, any concerns, any comments that you want to potentially run by us?
I hear the good points, from a technical point of view, I wasn't here. I mean, I was working too hard today, but there was some repeat, I was going through this fine tuning the numbers, and I was kind of lost.
On the cost benefit tool, there's an input tab, it's an Excel spreadsheet, it's an input tab where I enter all the financial figures and such. Then there's an output tab, which is really what I just read from earlier. That tells you what the benefits are, exactly what's being asked for.
So we have
all the
that.
summary page. That's on the second tab of the Excel sheet that I sent, that says output. I'm glad that, please call me tomorrow if you want.
Okay.
But it really spells it out quite clearly.
Okay.
I like using I'll say the glorified spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It shows you over time, not only the benefit that they would receive for the years, but also the actual taxes that will be produced. And then the one thing that I would just add is that, and Bill did this verbally, is that you would total up those things and understand exactly what the total amounts are. But Bill totaled them up and gave us the ratios. At a 25-to-1 is an unbelievable ratio.
No, I agree with that. So, but I think you have to present
Yeah.
total.
Total, maybe they'd say like a 17th column on the outside, that gives you a total by the line.
Is this what you're looking for? This is short form. This is the short form, but page 2 of it, which was included in one of the circuits, has the number.
Yeah, that was this morning, it was earlier though. The numbers are slightly revised now, but
Yeah,
that is a summary.
Okay, all right. So that's what we put that by email. Okay.
I think by saying yes to this, we are putting out there that these are the kind of projects that we want. We want to definitely, as a county, play in that biomedical field. It's very good paying jobs for local people. The return is that you're going to have money coming back into the county, even though we're giving these discounts. And again, we wanna be not just a national, but an international player. And with pharmaceuticals growing faster probably than any other industry, other than energy, globally, I think we need to step up and say, we're here to play.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So with going with that, I see the two projects are in Warwick. Is that the only region of the county that is receptive? Or the agriculture?
For this sector?
Yeah,
So, cannabis and hemp were a focus of the concept behind the Warwick Valley Office of Technology Corporate Park. It was designed to reinvent this former prison site rather than being a play community. As the chairman said, to bring in businesses, there's a variety of sports complex, there's a brewery, there's an adaptive sports complex and such. But the idea of the IBA incentivizing the cannabis accelerator and we have a laboratory there for testing. There are local farmers in that vicinity that are growing hemp that could be processed there. And then we have 2 cannabis manufacturers. So I do want to echo what Sue said, that this is an emerging sector in the life sciences sector. I mean, these are the kinds of jobs we want. I mean, people like to joke about pop, but it's very serious and it's absolutely incredibly viable industry. And with what the investment the IDA's made in the county and strategically what we've done, we're on the cusp of it, really try to seize this.
no, I agree with that, but is there let's say Port Jervis, that part of this county, have the land space and the type of.
I would say they don't have the sites.
Okay.
You know, Port Jervis is also, close to my heart as well. I really want to see it thrive, and projects like that could be revolutionary, but there's just not the location.
Okay.
Warwick is just the ideal site given.
Okay.
Yeah, and when it comes down to site selection, obviously certain sites are gonna be better than others, right?
Right.
And I think that Warwick really stepped up to the table to identify what your strengths and weaknesses are, especially in this part. We're not gonna be like the 84 corridor with warehouses, because there's not a real interstate going through Warwick. So you weren't gonna get an Amazon or, I don't want to use that as but any type, you name it, ABC company, go in there. So they had this part, and and they knew they wanted a tax base. It was a former prison site, so it had some infrastructure. We sprinkled some money onto it. The state got reimbursed for it. But more infrastructure was brought in, and now you have great jobs that are being created by companies like this at a location that literally, I don't know if Connor would agree or Bill would agree, probably not be a top tier location.
No.
It would be a tertiary or secondary location because of access. So, testament to them to have the vision and the manpower, to put together an LDC, spend some money and do it, and,
And the
it's-
site is beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
unbelievable.
It's a park.
Yeah.
And it would have been overgrown, boarded up buildings, that and the other. It's a
There's
park
still
that
not more
locals love.
buildings there, but.
Sure, but they're getting.
Yeah.
But you can only imagine, with state facilities closing, and what is the outcome of those types of, it's a tough proposition, and this one was a model. I can't say all of them are a model, but maybe that's something that we look for in the future. I know
Okay.
Bill's gonna make a small presentation about sites, about sites and.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is, there's a social justice component to the whole endeavor here in New York State cannabis. And it's not lost on us that this is a former prison site, people are incarcerated, perhaps for those types of infractions. And now it's being turned into an economic driver, where we're creating these types of opportunities and jobs that can help turn people's lives around. They're very positive, so it's a great story there, and fits in with what New York State's doing.
So not like Camp LaGuardia and just,
That's an RFP that's out there right now.
okay.
So we have a motion on the table, we have a second, any further discussion? Without that, any further discussion, I'd like to call the roll, Bill.
Okay, Torelli,
Yes.
Imberg,
Yes.
Oda,
yes,
Spencer,
Yes.
Walsky,
Yes.
Rinaldi.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Next item.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sean and Colleen, we'll be in
Thank you,
touch.
Sean, Colleen, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
thank you very much.
You gotta get a sign up on the.
Yes. Absolutely, sure. Next up, new leases in Middletown. A couple months ago, I came to you when, OCIDA is a company that's working on a synthetic, blood substitute. And, they've been doing, research at, Toro Medical College, in another space. Toro is doing some expansion, there was, or the landlords are, and there was a major flood, there's, OCIDA space was flooded. They're doing research with Toro medical students, and they came to us really begging to be able to get in, to use some of our spaces so they can especially continue the research part. That was the important part. So they rented 2 small suites in the Middletown Accelerator. And they have, I think I shared pictures with you of some students already there doing research. And they'd like to expand because they're cramped in there. We have a clean room there, an ISO, I think 7,000 clean room that we had a tenant leave several months ago. It's underutilized. So we show that to them. They'd like to take 2 of the units within there. There's a higher rate for that because of the investment made in the clean room. So that is 2.1, 2.2 or suites. So we have one of the leases in front of you for that additional space for their other side of the business. A to Z Consulting is actually would be the subtenant there. There's also another space. You may recall I brought to you Abundant Total Wellness. It was going to be kind of a health and wellness spa. The board approved a proposed lease for them for suites 15. They backed up actually last minute. They said, you know what, we decided it's too close to November, we have to make a change. Of course, we were clear with them that that was the case, but they decided A to Z would like to take that space as well. So I have 2 leases that are proposed, drafted by county attorney Donna Maduro. We appreciate her help. For suite 15 and for suite 2.1 and 2.2 of the clean rooms. Let's see, I have it in front of me, I'll tell you the rates. The regular suite, like we're charging everyone else after we reorganized, $15 a square foot, 248 square feet. So that's $310 a month or $3,720 a year of rent. That is for suite 15. For the clean room spaces, we were charging $20 a square foot times 340 square feet, $6,800 a year in rent, $567.67 per month. These leases would begin in April and of course expire November 19th when our lease expires with Dan's Lesser for Middletown. But they're very anxious to expand. They're very appreciative that the IDA allowed them to rent the space in the accelerator, and they hope that you approve this request as well.
Previously, some people on this board voted for the last one. I think a couple people that were,
Yes.
some of you. So the previous stuff that we've done was also brought to the board and was voted on, I believe unanimously.
Yes, sir. And I'll mention one other thing. The units they rented from us first are, I think, 10 and 11, suites 10 and 11. They're not sure that with the larger suite 15 in the clean room, they may terminate 10 and 11, but they're going to see if they keep them all. So we worked with Donna. Best course was for us to do a new lease and allow them to terminate that, which they're going to do within 30 years. But they'll keep us posted on.
Discussion. Any issues with them as a subtenant since they've been occupying our space?
No, excellent. Toro's happy, the students are happy. Toro's happy that the students are doing research again. So.
Not further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept the 2 new leases for the 2 separate, I'll say, areas to the A to Z company.
So moved.
Thank you, Susan. For Sue. Sorry.
Second. Okay.
Dr. Odoki, seconded?
Yes, please.
All right.
Any further discussion? With that, roll call.
Mr.
Please, no.
I'm not sure, yeah, so there are 2 units. Right?
So they're renting 2 units, 2 very small suites that are side by side.
2 different companies?
No, same company,
Same
ADC
company.
Consulting.
All right.
You good?
All right, with that, roll call.
Roll call. Torelli,
Yes.
Camberry,
Yes.
Oda,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
Walsky,
Yes.
Rinaldi. Yes. 6 ayes. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you fine with continuing with the next 2, in the interest of time, the next 2 subjects?
I'm good.
Okay.
Starving, but I'm good.
Got that. Okay.
I'm starving and I'm thirsty. And it's the day before St. Patty's Day, but go ahead.
Okay, next is our local labor monitoring RFP. I mentioned this earlier. It's an RFP we put out several months ago. We've been very, very busy, so we've been dealing with it we ran out of time last month, so we'll bring it this month. So again, I'm not gonna go to full depth again. It's for a firm to handle the monitoring on site for our projects that have to comply with the 85% local labor policy of ours. We've been working with Loki Brill for well over a year. Loki Brill is based in Rochester, and they are also at EDC, the EDC conference last year. That was something else I was looking into, is who are their competitors, who else could possibly apply for this. They frankly don't have too many other direct competitors that do exactly what they do, which is this kind of local labor monitoring, on-site analysis, strictly that. However, when we put the RFP out, you'll see we got 4 other responses. 3 of them are from engineering firms. And what I learned through the process of reviewing these and interviewing every respondent is that engineers, they have construction management, construction administration services they provide, where they're on site all the time, working with architects, working with GCs and such. So we have responses from 3 engineering firms who feel that this fits in perfectly with what they do already. So we are looking for, again, kind of similar competitors to Loki Brill. They don't seem to exist, but other engineering firms can do something similar. So I tried to, as I've done with past RFPs for the board, I tried to develop an apples to apples comparative analysis. That's what you have in front of you, this grid, where essentially what I was able to do in order to try and make that side by side comparison work is list all of the hourly fees that their team would charge, that each firm's team would charge. And then again, in an effort of trying to compare apples to apples, you see there's that line, example project estimate. At the bottom of the page, I define what that example project, it just comes up with, from what I know about local labor monitoring, what's done. We took an example project that took 1 hour of the principal's time for the firm, an hour and a half for an associate engineer, 10 hours for code enforcement or construction administration. Those are really the folks that are going on site, and 2 hours for administrative assistants to develop a report or something. To be able to, again, practically play out those figures that you're seeing in the matrix above, and you say it came up in bold with this example project, what each of these firms would be charging us. Beyond that, just some other things of note: if they have a presence in Orange County, and one is headquartered here, which is not an engineering firm. The 4th I will mention, Iser Consulting. That is a local business here that's done consulting and project management for a number of development projects here. She's based in the city of Newburgh, actually. Iser Consulting, so her headquarters is here. Land is a regional architecture and engineering firm, but they do have a Goshen office. Delaware Engineering recently opened an office in Goshen, so they have a location there. Felonzer Engineering, another respondent, they are Middletown based. Loki Brill, as I mentioned, they don't have a local office, but they're doing local labor monitoring for us, for the town of Montgomery IDA and such, so they're in the area all the time. We also asked them to identify any potential conflicts. Delaware, most of their work is municipal, on the municipal side, water and sewer and such, so they don't feel that there will be any. Felons are like land, they do local engineering projects, civil work, MEP and such. So there is a chance that they're on a project that comes before the IDA, in which case they would have to just recuse themselves. Low-key Brill doesn't see any foreseeable conflicts given the nature of their business. Also relevant experience, as I mentioned, the engineering firm, they've all done construction administration, which is part of their core work as engineers, or for Iser through their core project management work. And of course, Loki Brill, again, they're essentially the industry experts in New York State for this work specifically, and they are currently monitoring all our OCIDA projects. I do think that last comment I'll make is that just going on price alone may be challenging, may not really tell the whole picture. Something else that the town of Montgomery actually started doing, what I do pay attention to, is we don't have to commit to one firm necessarily. We could, especially if we want to feel some of these out. Felonzer's done work for us in the past, which I did know. And of course, Loki Brill's doing it now. We could consider the others, maybe not all of them, maybe just a couple based upon price and some of the other factors here. But that is an option for us to consider. Choose one, to choose 2 or more, or to say give staff the flexibility to hire one firm for a project. And again, kind of it's a trial to see what else and kind of mix it around. That's really, I don't want to give you much more than that, but, that was kind of our best effort to compare them side by side and, give you what you need to make a decision and recommendations there.
What I would do is I would add to that is that this hasn't been procured in a very long period of time.
Correct.
In excess of 5 years, I think.
I think felons are doing it less than 5 years, so I think it's more like 3.
Okay. So this was one of the items when we were reconstituting the board to talk about procurement of services to make sure that we're getting the right services, the right consultants, but also allowing for competition to acquire, to use those services. The other thing that I would say is we would have to weigh these options. These are people that responded. This was publicly advertised, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So there was opportunity for others to join in on this. And I believe that not all IDAs have a local labor policy. Not all regional or countywide ones, not all local. We did. It was something that the previous board, the one that is no longer here, instituted. It's something that we should revisit in governance to make sure that it's written the way that we want it written and those type of things. Less to discuss today, but more importantly, that an old document that needs to be revisited. Lastly, I would say is that some boards that have this require, have staff do this work. Because remember, if we decide to go with one or two or however we want to do this, this is something that is borne directly by the applicants. And it's an added cost on top of what we normally charge. There are IDs out there that do not require this, that do not charge for it. Or there could be even some out there that have a policy that absorb it into their own budget and use it as that. So there's many different ways to skin this cat in regards to this. This is just a snapshot of the response back from the RFP, which was, like I said, once again, publicly advertised. So in this instance, I'd like to have everybody to absorb this because this is something that's new and we just received it. So I'd like to open it up. So I'm sure there's questions on this. Open up for discussion.
My question is that, so they're all on hourly, is this correct?
Yes.
So there really isn't a set fee per, right? Because we don't know how it's gonna be, so,
So to add to Dean's point, since it's hourly, it really depends upon length of job. If you're building something that's gonna take a week, they might have one visit. You take something that's gonna take 4 years,
No question.
I don't know the frequency, like, can you give us a, for instance, Bill, what is the frequency? Do we mandate that they have to go weekly, monthly, somebody's been done virtually,
They go monthly, they absolutely do.
Thank you.
And I do get monthly reports.
Part of it's gonna depend on the size of the project, so if you have 10 workers, it's easy to verify. If you have 50 workers, taking a sample is harder than, so there's variables, which is why it is hourly.
Plus a project like the Amazon, which is subcontracted out to maybe 20, 30 different subcontractors.
well, it could be a lot, but also if the applicant, if they know this is on them, whatever, you think they would make sure that their construction people coordinate with them as efficiently as possible. Well,
I think before you can get into any kind of detailed discussion on this, we need to look at our fee structure that we're charging our applicants, because right now this is being passed on to them. And since we will be going through audits and all that other good stuff to really make this board firmed up and solid, we need to make a decision on how these things are gonna get charged out to applicants. It's gonna be fair and attractive to applicants to this board.
It is currently part of your fee schedule, it's spelled out, and I can't recite it to you, but I believe in your fee schedule, there is, it's based on project size, and then there's a flat fee, I believe, Bill, that's how your
Yes.
current fee structure is.
And your pluses and minuses to that. You could be building something that's 10 square feet, but you make it at a diamond and it costs $1 trillion. Where you can make something that is made out of mud and, and doesn't cost you that much. So, dollar wise, it's probably not the smartest way to do it, but that's what we inherited.
Right, well, we need to look at that.
We may want to change that.
Yeah.
Or make it flat fee, or maybe even absorb
So-
it. Or make it, we can tier it,
Scale.
scale it. We can do many different
I'm
things.
just saying, before we make any kind of decision on this, we need to look at that portion. This is working for us right now, but there are a lot of things that are not working for us that we need to examine. And I think our fee structures and setups for different scope of projects needs to be examined, and this is one of the things within that needs to be looked at.
I'll just rattle this off quickly for our local policy monitoring fee based on project cost, like capital expenditure, total project budget. Projects less than 5 million, $5,000. Projects between 5 and 15 million, 10,000. Projects between 15 and 25 million, 20,000. Between 25 million and 50 million, 30,000. Between 50 million and 100 million, 45,000. Between 100 million and 500 million, 55,000. And any projects greater than $500 million, the fee is to be determined. So between 5,000 and 55,000, from 5 million up to $500 million.
I'm sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so that money as the fee structure that would go into, like you had said, that goes into an account.
Correct.
And then from there you would pay, so we don't know if there's fees, either additional fees or if they undercharge or whatever, they would go back through that.
They do, your fee schedule says that they do, so I'm assuming they are being tracked. Your fee policy says if we do not spend all the money for the tracking, you will be reimbursed for that. So it does say that. I don't recall what it says, if for some reason you fall short, but I'm sure somewhere in your documents, it says they're responsible for all your fees anyway, so you can collect them. What I might recommend to the board, given the time and that this is something new to you, is I would table this issue and I would bring it to the governance committee. And you could look, the governance committee can examine it while they're examining your fee schedule and other policies with the board. And then report back to the board.
The only other comment I would make is that, like, obviously you have to review all these items and make sure that we're competitive with others, what others look like around us, but we don't want to be able to attract, not discourage, obviously. So-
Right, absolutely.
With that, would like to make a motion, or any further discussion, or would like to make a motion to, whether to move forward, to table?
I make a motion that we table.
We'll table this, all those in favor, will say aye.
Aye.
Abstention? Okay, so that's carried by 6. We'll take it to governance. We'll ask governance to be scheduled. So we'll work, like we said earlier, about, figuring all that out, Bill. And then part of that would be a comparative analysis against some of our, I'll say, I don't want to call it competition, some of our people that we.
Yeah.
Bill, that's on the spreadsheet. We're working on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we discussed it.
Yeah. So in this instance, we have to continue to stay with Loki Brill at this point because they're the ones that are currently under, I don't know if they're under contract. But it's,
No.
are currently being used.
Correct.
But let's make sure we put this also as an agenda item for next meeting, so that we can properly let that, if you let these applicants know that we're potentially looking at it next month. So that's great. But thank you for doing all that work and having the analysis. It's tough to compare because everything's not the same.
Right, exactly. It's not, wasn't as apparent, when we did the CPA, analysis, a little more obvious, so, okay. Last item in the show already, or last item here before executive session. Excuse me. To the new board members, a topic I addressed when I proposed our 2022 budget, the annual budget we're working under now, was a line item for a shovel-ready project. The basic concept is this, as I wrote in this piece here, in this RFQ, and in the email that I sent you introducing it. I've been very fortunate to be an economic developer in Orange County about 9 going on 10 years now, and I got very lucky. I accepted it. As soon as I came in it, there was just an incredible rush. I'm sure it had a lot to do with me, but also not me. And I witnessed all these incredible shovel-ready sites we had. As the chairman said, we have primary sites, secondary sites, tertiary sites. They're all gone now. Now we have major developers looking on spec, meaning they're going to invest and build without having an end user. They believe in this market so much that they're looking to invest here locally, and they're looking at these tertiary sites that people would look at years ago. So that's one of the only things that will keep us out of the game going forward to attract other sizable projects. And of course, in as Walsey and I are on the same line, we want to attract the right types of sectors, the right types of jobs and everything. Developing the right types of sites will help us do that. And it's not just a site next to a highway, whatever it might be. We want to make sure that there's infrastructure there, water and sewer, natural gas in some cases, fiber optics, similar to what the IDA did, the investment we made in Warwick. We brought services in there, and then you were able to attract great end users like Green Thumb and Citgo. So this is the first step in a larger initiative to try and augment the county's stable of shovel-ready sites. And the first step being what I'm proposing here, issuing a request for qualifications for firms to come and help us do a site analysis. What properties are currently in our repertoire here in Orange County? What's the status of them? What services do they have? What are they lacking? And then you can do an analysis to say, what could we attract to those sites? And what other sites maybe exist that with some development, some investment, some partnering, which is a whole other stage for us to consider, could be brought to a stage where we can attract a quality end user. To me, the dream is an electric car manufacturer, some other advanced manufacturing are typically better jobs, higher paying jobs and such, so it's something we want to strive for. This analysis would allow us to figure out where do we stand, what are the most viable sites that could be developed and maybe brought to a higher status that could be marketed by the Orange County Partnership, by our agency and other partners of ours. Again, this is the first step, doing an analysis. The town of Montgomery, when Conor was with the IDA, they did a similar kind of first stage here, which I think you call it a corridor study.
Yeah, we did a site analysis of the 17K corridor where Amazon we cited, so we have these large scale industrial sites, but we wanted to know, like Bill saying, what can we attract, who are our best sites, how do we get them right? So this is very similar. It was a good return.
And I was part of the committee for that. I was very impressed by the work that was done there and the output, and the public participation was nice. It was really well done. I'd like to replicate that, but of course, we're talking in the county scale here. So we have many more sites that we can look at. And again, this would be the first step. In our budget, I think I had $300,000 in there as a line item, not necessarily to use that, but this would be the first phase towards that end, where we would again look for a firm to help us do this analysis.
So,
Yeah.
discussion. So in this instance,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. You haven't spoken up yet.
I'm referring to, Bill, you did indicated that probably we need to explore that situation. Maureen, in partnership, I thought she's already doing that. You would probably throw light on this. Are they not exploring bringing in investors in the county? That's what I thought. You worked with her before. Is that not what she does? Bringing in investors?
I'm not sure if I totally follow you. I know Maureen and I have had discussions. I think she's mentioned it here in the meeting. She's very interested in the shovel ready program, of course, because that's our product. So she knows that we have a short amount of product there. As far as investment, I think that's something that will come to the board down the line, where we identify properties and we say, hey, this is for example, Warwick. Now that was owned by a local municipality, a town. A little easier for us to say, okay, we'll work on that, as opposed to perhaps a privately owned piece of property, which other IDAs, by the way, they've taken ownership, they've taken partnership, making investment, even partnering with a private entity. I'm not asking the IDA to consider that yet, but that's something that would be, a decision point down the line here. So again, Doctor, I'm sorry, I didn't totally follow everything, but making an investment right now, it's just an analysis of what sites are out there. And we certainly don't want to do any duplication. When I worked for the partnership, we had a list. I just know that list is dwindled right down. So I certainly, Maureen would be a part of that, and we get any intel that she has. We don't want to just start from scratch here, but this would be a very in-depth analysis that would yield information that none of us have right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And one more thing, you did mention something about consolidated funding application, CFA. Can you throw light on that a little bit? What our involvement? You wanted us to get involved in that?
I think you're breaking up a little, Doctor, so it's a little tough to hear.
Yeah. No, you did indicate about consolidated funding application, CFA. That IDA should get involved in that. Can you explain a little bit of that? Yeah.
Yes. So I didn't mention that at all. It is in this document here, but we've been looking for some sources to help us fund this, not just the IDA. Anything we do now, we want to see how we leverage our resources with others. The CFA is kind of the primary vehicle through which Empire State Development, the state's economic development arm, incentivizes local projects. There used to be a number of different applications to apply for different buckets of money. The Cuomo administration actually streamlined that. There's one application, and then the regional council for the Mid-Hudson, in our case, reviews these applications and lines them up with the different funding sources. We certainly would be applying for CFA for a possible planning grant for this, but there's a new initiative from the ESD that came out while we were working on this called Fast New York that is all around developing shovel-ready sites. It's not yet launched. They've advertised it. You saw it. I mean, you sent this stuff on it as well. I did speak with ES. I'm pointing across the street. That's from our office, but not here. Empire State Development's across the street. Tom Scaglione, the regional director, he and I talked about this in lengthy. And I made it clear, hey, we're not just interested, like you put this out, we're interested. We were already working on this. So I said, we were already heading this direction. So if you can help, support us with funding, that's certainly, we're going to apply for any opportunity for some funding to supplement this.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Other investors, whether it's the partnership, other agencies, private investors.
So specifically, I think what we have in front of us is a request by staff to start an RFQ process. There's no cost to that, right? And this would be something that would get information to staff. They would come back and make a detailed presentation to us to potentially hire, I'll say subject matter experts, consultants, excuse me, to help us go from an RFQ process, which is qualifications for a consultant, to potentially all the way through an end use of a request for proposals from property owners, municipalities, anybody within our geographic area, the entire county, that would potentially have sites. And then, so it's kind of like, this is the initial first step.
That could be a subsequent phase.
Yeah, so it's all to be determined at this point, but the request is to get someone on board to assist staff. And the idea here is that, while we may not have it all detailed, worked out exactly what we want to do and where we want to do it, we know that through the last budget, we earmarked a project like this for this type of stuff. This may be a longer term project. It's not going to be something that happens overnight.
One and done, but
Yeah.
right.
And we may be able to use this numerous times. So I think that when I look at the mission of the IDA, and I'm in full support of this, is that this will help us help municipalities create tax revenues, help the county create jobs, which is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Now, there's a lot of details that can get into this, and there's many different ways that this can be funded, and refunded, and, continuous through maybe with different things. All that has to be worked out. So this idea here is going to take a lot of staff time, and it's going to take potentially, I hate to say it, a separate committee. Because it's going to be, once it gets to that point, it's going to be very detailed, and there's going to be a lot of information. At this point, I'm in full support of having staff reach out for help through a qualification process. And when we get that back, if we decide we want to go a different way, we don't like the pricing, we don't like who's responsible, we can go a different way. But I think there's a lot of things out there that are going to help us, help the municipalities, help this county move forward in that direction. There's free services like the county planning department, like county planning, GIS, Office of Real Property Tax Services. Municipalities are going to potentially be the benefit of this. So there's benefits at the local level. And then obviously there's at the private level and at the regional level when it comes to different things. We can go into some of those specifics. I'm in support, but I'd like to open it up for further discussion. If anybody has any questions about a qualification process for a shovel-ready type program. The program is not defined yet. It's just literally going out and getting help for you.
If I may comment.
Please.
I see a huge importance in doing this. As a county, our landscape is changing. It's changing very rapidly. We compete not only against small development projects that have large impacts with warehousing currently in the county. We also have a competitor in the Open Space Institute that wants to have land. And I think if we're smart about this and identify the projects, we can coexist with the Open Space Institute on a much higher level that will be tax beneficial to the county and to the residents of the county, while still being able to maintain that rural landscape that people enjoy up here.
further discussion? The one thing that I will just identify before we take a vote on this, if we want to do it or not, is that we will have to focus specifically on if we have conflicts. Because as we start getting into this type of realm, not with hiring a consultant, obviously, we have someone who works for somebody, something like that, but as we start getting into properties, if we are property owners or if we could potentially benefit from, I would just say just to keep that in the back of your mind. I know I'm keeping it in the back of my mind constantly because of the position that I hold over at New York Stewart International Airport, where if this came in front of us, I potentially could see myself having to recuse myself eventually if the sites were determined to be airport specific that I help represent. I just leave, I have that in my disclosure stuff. I have, and I will make that disclosure if and when it ever gets to that point. At this point, it's just hiring consultants, but I want everybody to be cognizant of that there could be some increase of the potential for conflicts or appearances of conflicts because of the nature of, we'll specifically be getting down to sites. It's not just consultants, it's not just dealing with a municipality, we be down to sites. So some of us are in that type of market, some of us aren't. I would say that to Bo as well. I know he's in the commercial real estate market with different things. I don't think we have conflicts today. I'm not saying we do, but I just want to make sure that we're all always cognizant of that, especially when we get into things that are a little bit out of the norm. This is something that is, I'll say, a special project. I'll just say that, and I'd say that on anybody. So with that, I'll open it up for the discussion. If not, we can go to.
I'm in favor of this, especially since it's going to help us going forward. The concern I have is you mentioned staff a lot. And are we overburdening staff with two principal staff people?
We do what labor monitoring press.
Yeah, no, my observation is that Bill is doing almost every practical, mechanical stuff, clerical stuff, and being the CEO. So, as we accelerate this.
Well, no, I think it's a good point because if we really want to do the initiative, which I think we do, it's important, it's great to report it forward, and we want to make sure we get it done, that they have time or somebody has sufficient time to delve into this to get it done. So
That's a good, okay. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
You mentioned conflict. Is there something written that would give us a dialogue as to what conflict is? Is it monetary, is it friends, whatever? How do you touch something? It creates conflict.
That's a good point.
Well, the ABO training that you're gonna go to is going to be explicit about what
It's gonna be very detailed.
conflict, right? So it is broader than you think it is. If you have
Yeah,
family, a relative who benefits from the contract you give. At this point in time, you have no conflict with what's before you because all it is authorizing us to put out a request for people to respond with what their qualifications are to undertake this study. When those responses come in, you'll see them. If your wife or your son or your daughter's company has responded, that's conflict. But until we get there, we don't know. So today, you have no conflict. You can vote on this free, your conscience can be free. Between now and then, you probably will be doing your ABO training. If you haven't and you want more information, Bill and I can respond and provide that to you. But this is not gonna be back to you by the time before you do your training anymore.
And my concern was past relationships.
Right, but we don't know what they are. We don't, because no one has responded, we have no idea. So there's no conflict as we sit here.
Right, so there's no box or framework of what could look like a conflict.
No, not based on this.
Okay.
Right, not based on this.
Yeah, I would say in the broader sense, any questions, you go to staff, go to council, you can always run it, bounce it by them. And they'll give you the best. And if we have to, we can always go higher to higher levels if we need to. Whether it's at the county level, whether it's at the state level, what's that big deal. There's others that we can go, but this is a little bit special, I'll say. And special always has a little bit added focus to it. But like I said, this is not asking for any money today. We do have it in our budget, and I would like to entertain a motion to accept the RFQ and have staff solicit that. So with that, I'd like to make that motion myself. Second, you're second?
No, I use it.
I had made a motion.
I'm second.
You second. Without any further discussion, Bill, roll call.
Torelli,
Yes.
Dan Murray,
Yes.
ODOT,
Yes,
Spencer,
Yes.
Walsky,
Yes.
Rinaldi.
Great.
Excellent, thank you all.
All right.
That's the end of our regular agenda.
Yes.
We are looking for, before anyone jumps up, a brief executive session with our attorneys.
Yes.
I told them it has to be very brief.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to go to executive session.
Before we go to executive session,
Sure.
because I believe it needs to be on public, is there any way we can have discussion about moving these meetings back to the IDA headquarters?
Good point.
yes, yeah,
They voted on having it here, so it would be central to the county. At the time, there was public discussion at the board meetings that our lease is coming due soon in New Windsor, and we may be moving to Goshen. So that was the assumption of why we are having them here. We can open it up for discussion and further board consideration. I would say that if you'd like to, for certain reasons, you can let us know. I mean, it's all dependent. We could have them in one location, we can revolve them around.
Well, simply the fact there's no heat here at night,
I fell asleep 3
I kinda like
times.
it.
the
yeah.
Wi-Fi here, and all of our files and everything are at headquarters, so if there was a document missing, Bill can run into his office and grab it.
I think added to that, he's now looking at that small monitor there and the audio.
Yeah, the AV situation on it.
Well, we can change all that. We can change the heat, and we can change the audio, and we can change, we can
My
do-
feeling is that if we are at headquarters, we feel that we own that place and it's part of us.
Yeah, we're in somebody else's house, this is like having a meeting at grandma's living room.
So that's my feeling that we,
So in my opinion, I think this is the best place to have. Because it's the county industrial development agency, it's not New Windsor's industrial development agency. And that facility was not conducive to great meetings in the past. So my opinion, I would say that we should have a county seat, just like most countywide meetings should be. That's my opinion. We can talk about it, if you want, we could eventually vote upon it. I would like to get Bo's opinion on it as well. And maybe make it as a future agenda item, so we can all think about it.
Well, that's what I'm asking, let's get it for discussion.
Mr. Chair, first things to get into here.
Is it free?
It is free here.
Yes,
It's
yes.
pretty hard, yes. And I kind of like it cool here, but that's me. So,
I was thinking it might cool many times.
all right, so we'll make that as a potential agenda item.
Anything else for the?
Um,
Yes, sir.
This is my personal opinion, I know we looked at cost benefit analysis last time, and we have that also presented today. But to me, I think that economic impact study should be required by some of these corporation, investors, because this is the economic impact study that I did years ago when the college got about $80 million, some from local sponsors, some from Albany, to put up the building at Newburgh. The building in Newburgh, the new building in Newburgh, and also in Middletown. They didn't go out to get an external consultant. I did that. I did the work for the college. And I have a copy here, and anytime anyone wants to look at it, can look at the copy. Because in economic impact study, well, you look at the multiplier for job creations, multiplier for the different things and earnings. But cost benefit analysis doesn't go so far. Should we require some of these companies eventually to present economic impact study, or we just go to cost benefit analysis? Because you have to show that for every $1 spent, how much the dollar would multiply itself for $1 spent in the county. what is the return to the county? If you go so far to look at it, I mean, that's my personal opinion now. Should we require these firms to provide cost benefit analysis or not, or just go with, economic impact studies, or just go with cost benefit analysis?
So those that don't know, Dr. Odak is Professor Cindy Orange in economics and business. He also conducts economic impact studies, sophisticated studies, so that is his area of expertise. So to me, are you talking about projects, about IDA projects we consider incentivizing? Or
Any project that we want to look in details. I mean, we would like to see impact on how many jobs creation, multiplier impact. In fact, we deal with multipliers, you know. And
Because
that is why
to me-
for every $1 spent in county multiplies yourself 2 or 3 times.
So Dr. what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the board, I'd love to look at this cost benefit analysis tool with you, given your expertise, and help you look behind the screen here to see some of the computation, how the multiplier effects are built into that. And if there are something missing or some opportunity for it to be improved, maybe you could give us some feedback.
Right.
I'd love you to just take a closer look at the tool we're using and see if it does satisfy what you're talking about, or where it falls short and we could look for some other solution.
Okay, thank you.
Did you and I spend some time together on that?
Yeah, sure.
Need to get you to sign some resolutions anyway, so we'll kill 2 birds. I'll come see you.
Sure, okay.
That's okay, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anything else on unfinished business I'd like to bring up?
Yeah, last thing, I've been looking at the website and there's been no change to it in terms of the board members, current board members, changing positions.
Absolutely. Well, they got right away.
We're trying to make it stand more, even more.
No, that's.
IT guy.
I'm wondering how-
You say that with the IT guy.
Very diligent, we did that.
Sorry.
I like that, you set them up and you.
Thank you for looking at that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You know, I showed Bill a way to use super notes.
You did. I got some good tools from that.
And just because we talked about setting up the finance committee, I saw the financials always were the day before, like, our meetings, so I know that they have to go roll it back
Right.
earlier, so that is some discussion we can have with them so they can schedule it, so.
True.
Whatever Tuesday. So that will be important. So it was a couple of weeks away. If for meetings are the 16th or something, and the month ends, to have the finance committee meeting 3 days after the month ends, the accountancy is going to say you're crazy.
Yeah.
So we have to think about repositioning many things.
Very.
Any other open items or unfinished business or anything you want to bring up? Okay, at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss with counsel litigation and detailed attorney-client information.
So,
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Connor. We got to get you out.
Okay.
All right, great. Welcome back, everybody. Orange County Industrial Development Agency meeting March 16th. We just came out of March 16th, 2022. We just came out of executive session and no further business. I'd entertain the motion to adjourn.
motion.
Thank you. Second. Motion. Great. Second by Dean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.